When we came of age, our family arranged marriages with two nine-tailed foxes for my sister and me to enhance our clan's spiritual power and lineage. My sister claimed the strong nine-tailed fox, leaving me with the one so frail it was nearly dying. To save his life, I nourished him with my own flesh and medicinal brews and tended to him with utmost care. In time, he rose to become the king of the spirit realm, and I his one and only fox consort. My sister's nine-tailed fox familiar led her astray with frivolous pleasures, draining her spiritual energy until she perished under heavenly lightning during her ascension. The fox shares its master's life force as it suffered, so did my sister, now coughing blood with death approaching. My own nine-tailed fox viciously tore open my abdomen, clawing out my millennium-cultivated golden core to revive my sister. Agony pierced my very bones as I screamed through tears, "I'll die," but he retorted, "Clara, if it weren't for you, I would have been with Lola long ago. Only a core from her bloodline can save Lola," he said. "You owe her this." I writhed in agony, barely conscious as they carved my abdomen open to extract the core, cursing my own misplaced trust. When my eyes fluttered open again, I found myself back on that fateful night when I first chose the nine-tailed fox. Without hesitation, my sister chose the weakest one for marriage, hoping to bear offspring and enhance spiritual power. But dear sister, your suffering has only begun. That feeble nine-tailed fox lacks reproductive essence and is utterly infertile. The agony I endured in my past life, you shall suffer twofold. Allying with nine-tailed foxes is our family's ancient tradition. Upon coming of age, our family selected compatible nine-tailed foxes for my sister and me, Clara, Lola. These are the nine-tailed foxes the clan has carefully chosen for you. Make your selection." Father gazed at us with tender affection. A sudden realization struck me. Was this rebirth? In our past life, my elder sister arrived a quarter hour earlier and claimed the robust nine-tailed fox, leaving me with the frail one. I had no choice but to take the nine-tailed fox home. The fox seemed born with a congenital weakness, though I bought medicines to nurse him back to health. Ordinary remedies proved utterly ineffective. Granny Ling served as the royal witch doctor. Versed in all matters celestial and terrestrial, she told me that to cure the nine-tailed fox's wasting sickness, an ally must offer flesh and blood. There might be hope for recovery, otherwise, the fox would waste away day by day, and I too would suffer the consequences. Following Spirit Nanny's advice, I began cutting my flesh to feed the nine-tailed fox with my blood. True enough, the fox grew stronger by the day, even surpassing my sister's nine-tailed fox in vigor. The nine-tailed fox excels in song and dance, with striking beauty, yet possesses a violent temperament. As its physical strength grows, it becomes prone to losing control. This was what the spirit matron told me, so, after the nine-tailed fox recovered, I began soothing it to strengthen its spiritual power as well. One day, the nine-tailed fox succeeded in unifying the spirit realm, and I became the envied queen consort. Meanwhile, my sister's nine-tailed fox indulged in frivolous pleasures, weakening its spiritual power, and was struck down by heavenly lightning during ascension. My sister got caught up in this, severely wounded and coughing up blood. Now hovering between life and death, my nine-tailed fox spirit grew frantic, tearing open my wound with bare hands to dig out my core essence, all to save her, trading my life for hers. Agony ripped through me as I screamed, demanding why he'd do this. He actually said, "Clara, if you hadn't chosen me back then, I would have been with Lola by now." My heart sank into an icy abyss. I remember that day vividly. My sister completely ignored his existence, yet he still can't get her out of his mind. But he forgot, without my help, he'd never have recovered so swiftly or united the spirit realm. Instead of gratitude, he repaid me with resentment. Given another chance, I'd never choose him again. "Clara, Ethan is yours now." My sister shoved the burly nine-tailed fox right next to me. Then she smiled at the scrawny nine-tailed fox and said, "Liam, you'll be with me from now on. I promise to fatten you up nice and plump." So my sister had been reborn too. I glanced at my sister. She was beaming with delight, not even trying to hide her triumphant expression. Liam's eyes sparkled with a smile so radiant not even an AK-47 could suppress it. In our past life, he resented me for choosing her. Now in this life, he finally gets to follow sister as he'd always wished. Feigning hesitation, I said, "Sister, are you certain? Liam doesn't look well. Do you really want to ally with him?" Since childhood, sister had been fiercely competitive. She always claimed the best things for herself, leaving me with the scraps. Today's behavior was rather unusual. Even mother noticed something was off. She asked sister solemnly if she'd made up her mind. For once allied with the nine-tailed fox, their fates would be bound together. An unbreakable bond for life, knowing sister's temperament well. Mother couldn't fathom why she'd choose the feeble nine-tailed fox. Liam stared nervously at his sister, afraid she might change her mind. His sister smiled warmly. "Father, Mother, don't worry." Liam and I clicked instantly. "I won't go back on my word." Liam's entire face lit up with excitement. Mother turned to me. "And what about you?" I linked arms with Ethan and vowed, "I won't go back on my word either." Ethan swept me up in an excited bear hug, lifting me sky high. A flicker of disdain passed through my sister's eyes. She probably thought Ethan was just a fun-loving guy who knew nothing but eating, drinking, and lifting girls. Utterly useless. Ethan came home with me, full of energy. He smashed 3 vases in a fish tank, then devoured all the chickens, ducks, and geese in my yard. Surveying the chaos, I laid down 10 house rules for him. Ethan curled up on the couch whimpering pitifully, sensing the 9-tailed fox's impending agitation. I quickly reached out to soothe his silken tails. True enough, he soon calmed beneath my touch, his azure eyes softening as they met mine. In their past life, after Ethan followed his sister home, he became quite the troublemaker, whether pilfering fresh river shrimp or swallowing her prized parrot whole. Without understanding how to soothe the 9-tail's spiritual energy, their encounters always escalated into chaos. Gradually, Ethan became so obsessed with trivial pursuits that his spiritual energy began to wane. In the end, Ethan forced his ascension and was struck down by heavenly lightning. At this thought, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of concern. With Ethan's unruly nature, guiding him through this tribulation would require me to expend considerable spiritual energy to stabilize his psyche. For several days, I soothed Ethan's mental energy daily, and his temperament gradually became calmer and more composed. Ethan was already physically robust, and with this care, he grew even stronger, until one day, Sister Ling informed me that my elder sister had been bitten by Liam. I took Ethan with me to visit my sister. My sister lay on the bed, looking utterly drained, her face twisted with pent-up fury. Liam crouched at the foot of the bed, his fluffy tail drooping to the floor, his eyes flickering nervously when he saw me. My sister vented her rage through gritted teeth. If we weren't already allied with him, She swallowed the rest of her words, but I knew she meant I'd kill him. Yet, she couldn't. Feigning concern, I asked, Sister, did Mother Ling tell you the solution? My sister hesitated, then shook her head, too. Liam's eyes dimmed as his foxtail gave an unwilling twitch. By the way, how's he doing? My sister asked. Pointing at Ethan, I smiled. Ethan treats me very well. Come, show us a dance. Ethan obediently wagged his tail and began dancing. My sister watched in stunned silence. In his past life, Ethan was utterly mischievous. His sister couldn't control him no matter what. She tried training him in advanced dance moves, but Ethan lacked patience and never cooperated properly. But now, his sister's face kept shifting between pale and ashen. Seeing her distress and Liam's dejection, I quietly took Ethan away. We'd barely taken a few steps when Liam caught up with us. Pretending not to notice Liam, I kept walking alongside Ethan, spotting a squirrel on the wall. Ethan ignored my protests and darted up the barrier in a flash. I stomped my foot in frustration. That Ethan is way too carefree and casual, doesn't show the slightest respect for me as his master. Seems I'll have to add a few more house rules. Just then, Liam sneaked up and wrapped his arms around mine. Clara, will you take me away with you? You clearly had feelings for me that day. My breath hitched. What the hell are you talking about? Liam grasped my hand, pleading, Clara, I'm your beast man, won't you choose me again? So Liam has been reborn too. No wonder Liam looked so disappointed when we mentioned the spirit nanny earlier. If only my sister would agree to the flesh-cutting blood ritual, he'd be completely healed. And once healed, he could unite the spirit realm. So, is he fawning over me just to suck me dry? I scoffed and broke free from his grip. I have no idea what you're talking about. You're clearly my sister's beast man. Stop poisoning our sisterly bond. I turned away, but Liam doggedly pursued me. Ethan on the wall stared at us with piercing eyes. I blinked and turned to Liam. So you're that eager to be my orc? Liam froze momentarily before nodding eagerly. Master, I pledge myself to you. Ethan scrambled up the tree by the wall, angrily swatting at the branches with his paws in protest. Pretending not to notice, I reached up to gently stroke Liam's back. I knew his physical condition like the back of my hand. As I petted him, Liam closed his eyes contentedly, savoring the touch. Just then, a dark figure swooped down from the tree, lunging at Liam with lightning speed. When I came to my senses, I saw Ethan savagely biting Liam in a fit of rage, caught off guard and overpowered by Ethan's brute strength. Liam was quickly pummeled to the ground, unable to get up. Then Ethan cocked his head at me, his eyes brimming with defiance. I gasped, Ethan, what are you doing, Master? I'm your real beast man. 3, he's marking his territory now. Weren't you the one who abandoned me just now? Why'd you come back? Ethan pouted. Master, I was wrong. Oh, and what exactly were you wrong about? I shouldn't have left your side without permission. His face flushed red as he finally bowed his head in apology. I chuckled softly. Good, Ethan truly needed to be tamed, and today, Liam's unexpected appearance had actually brought him to his senses. Liam struggled to his feet, reaching for my sleeve, only to be snatched up by Ethan's foxtail and flung 5 yards away. Don't let me see you again, or I'll treat you just like this tree. With that, Ethan lashed his tail against the tree. The thick tree trunk snapped instantly like a twig. Ethan's skills are truly impressive. After returning home, Ethan laid down some ground rules. Master, I'll behave from now on. Please don't provoke other beastmen anymore. I chuckled. Turns out Ethan's weakness is possessiveness. Fine. Then you'll do exactly as I say. Ethan nodded. Then lie down over there. I pointed to the bed. Ethan blushed slightly. In broad daylight. Master, what are you trying to do? I glared. Didn't you promise to obey my every word? Or should I summon another orc? I'll go. He scampered obediently and flopped onto the bed. Then he beckoned. The bed's warm now, master, come quick. With a derisive snort, I produced a wooden plank and smacked his palm. He blinked in surprise. Master, I was warming your bed. Why did you hit me? Who said anything about bed warming? I patted his head and began tracing the acupressure points along his body with gentle strokes. Oh, wasn't that the case? What are you thinking? As sworn allies, we're bound as closely as husband and wife. I'm helping you channel your spiritual energy. Ethan gave an awkward chuckle, his ears instantly turning crimson. His fox-like features became even more alluring. He stretched beneath my touch, letting out contented little murmurs. From that day onward, after each spiritual energy alignment session, I'd have him train with me to prepare for his ascension to unify the spirit realm. In his past life, Ethan's insufficient spiritual energy and reckless rush to ascend led to him being struck dead by heavenly lightning. In this lifetime, I can't let him take that risk again. But Liam wouldn't give up. He kept lurking around our house, watching our every move. That day, I made an excuse to send Ethan away and let Liam in. What's the matter? I asked him. He stammered nervously, saying he was in poor health and begged me to save his life. How could I possibly save you? I asked in astonishment. His eyes lit up. Clara, I just need a tiny piece of your flesh and blood. But you're my sister's orc. Why should I save you? Go beg her for help instead. You're allies now. She won't just stand by and do nothing. I refuse. Liam's mouth opened, then closed as he hung his head. His sister must have refused to help him. With the ascension deadline approaching, he's desperate enough to come begging to me now. Liam prostrated at my feet, his sapphire eyes brimming with tears. Clara, I had a dream where I was your orc, and you healed me. Your devotion matches my loyalty. We lived happily together. My fists clenched as memories flooded back, the urge to strike him overwhelming. I took a deep breath. Will giving you my flesh and blood truly save your life? Liam's eyes sparkled with delight. Yes, Clara. My life hangs by your decision. My death matters little, but dragging Lola down with me, that I cannot bear. His words dripped with sincerity, while icy laughter coiled in my heart. After devouring everything and leaving me to die in my past life, now he dares ask for my help. Since when does karma work that way? Unless, lowering my eyes with a smile, I said, I'll help you, but you must agree to one condition. What's the condition? Liam's eyes sparkled. After you recover, stay by your sister's side at all times. Don't come looking for me again, I said. He looked surprised. That's it. I nodded earnestly. Yes, after all, you're my sister's beastman. I want you two to be happy together. Liam hesitated for a moment before agreeing. His condition had deteriorated severely. Without human blood and flesh to sustain him, his mental energy would soon collapse, compared to his former glory. He couldn't possibly accept this decline, so we struck a deal. For the next month, I'd supply him with flesh and blood to hasten his recovery. Liam pounced onto my shoulder without hesitation, baring his fangs toward my neck, for I dodged with effortless grace. My recent training sessions with Ethan have significantly boosted my energy reserves, making orc attacks easy to evade now. Just wait here, I'll be right back. Grabbing a tray, I headed into the room. On the table lay the wild hare Ethan had hunted. I carved a chunk of rabbit meat with my dagger and tossed it onto the tray. Still want to feast on my flesh and blood? Dream on. With a cold snort, I wrapped a cloth around my arm to feign injury before stepping out of the room. I handed the tray to Liam, grimacing in mock pain. Get lost. From now on, I'll deliver the meat to the garden every evening. Liam nodded eagerly and wolfed down the meat on his plate. This taste, he frowned slightly, feels somewhat familiar. Suddenly, he clamped his mouth shut. I sneered. Did you taste it in your dreams or something? He shook his head vigorously like a rattledrum. Clara, don't get me wrong. I was just speaking offhand, he said cautiously, watching me as if afraid I'd changed my mind. I'll never forget your tremendous kindness. With a frosty expression, I shoved him out the door. Who cares about his sweet talk? All I want in this life is to see him crushed by Ethan. The moment I left, Ethan came right back. Ethan sniffed the air and grimaced. Master, what's that stench? Who was here just now? Orcs have keen senses of smell. Nothing escapes their notice. I won't lie. It was Liam who showed up, but I chased him off. Ethan scowled with jealousy. Him again. Master, if he keeps bothering you, I'll pluck every last feather from his tail. He must have sensed Liam's ambitions, which made him deeply resentful of the guy. I laughed, plucking his tail feathers. That's child's play. Why not conquer the spirit realm instead? Then I could at least be your queen, once we form an alliance. We become one, sharing both glory and disgrace. Ethan narrowed his blue eyes, pinning me against the bed without warning. My liege, do you know the duties of a royal consort? I feigned ignorance. What duties? For centuries, the spirit realm has been in chaos, requiring both a capable ruler and a worthy successor. He grinned mischievously before pinning me down, whispering, time to fulfill our marital duties. That's way too blunt. After Ethan's psychic powers grew stronger, he often materialized in human form. His sculpted physique and chiseled features made my heart flutter wildly as I gazed at his face. Master, your silence means consent, doesn't it? He whispered in my ear. My body burned as I pushed against him twice, but an orc's strength far surpasses a human's. My resistance was futile, leaving me helpless beneath his relentless advance. I ran into my sister and Liam on the street. Liam had been thriving lately, his glossy fur gleaming and his 9 tails meticulously groomed to perfection. Lately, I've been feeding Liam a mix of duck and chicken meat, always laced with chi-tonifying herbs. That's why he appears to be thriving, but it's merely superficial improvement. His spiritual energy remains unregulated. Chaotic chi surges through his meridians, risking complete energetic collapse. My sister gloated. See, Clara, I've got better taste. My orc clearly outclasses yours. She seemed thoroughly pleased with her choice, gazing at Liam with adoring eyes. Don't believe me, my sister beckoned to Liam. Go on, uproot that tree. The towering street tree had stood there for at least a dozen years. With a whoop, Liam shook off the 9 tails coiled around the tree trunk. In the blink of an eye, the massive tree was uprooted. My sister exclaimed excitedly, see that, Clara? I forcibly restrained the restless Ethan. He chimed in, truly impressive. But I noticed Liam's face had gone pale, a clear sign of mental exhaustion. The copious energy-restoring medications masked his underlying frailty. Not just his sister, even Liam himself became convinced he was cured, eager to prove himself. His mental strength would eventually run dry, yet he remained unaware that he was already a hollow shell. In this life, he was destined to be the loser. Returned home, Ethan asked me in confusion why I stopped him from acting earlier. I chuckled. No need to prove yourself in haste. The spirit realm is about to select a successor. Why don't you enter the competition? Do I really stand a chance? Absolutely. I nodded solemnly. During this period, Ethan and I intensified our training while I diligently helped him channel his psychic energy. His current abilities far surpass Liam's from our past life. That's why I'm absolutely convinced Ethan will achieve a resounding victory. Within days, disaster struck my sister. I rushed home only to hear Mom say Liam had bitten my sister again. I gasped. How could that be? In our past life, Liam would have killed me to save her. Why would he keep hurting her in this life? What's more, they'd grown particularly close lately. My sister was convinced his chronic condition had healed, and doted on him constantly. Mother snapped angrily. He blamed her sister for failing to soothe his psychic energy. In a fit of rage, he hurt Lola. I arched an eyebrow. Sensing Mother wasn't telling the whole truth, all these years, Mother had always doted on my sister, granting her every whim. Could she be covering something up for her? I went to see Nanny Ling, and sure enough, she revealed there was another reason behind Liam biting his sister. The main cause was that his sister kept showing off Liam's abilities to others, forcing him to expend mental energy performing for the crowd. Yet she never knew how to soothe Liam's exhausted psyche. Liam had a naturally violent temperament, and with his energy completely drained, chaotic energies surged through his organs, triggering an early eruption. Is there still hope? Nanny Ling shook her head. Ancient texts say human flesh can nourish vital essence, but alas, his chronic frailty has progressed too far, beyond cure long ago. I remained silent. Nanny Ling added, your sister insists on forcibly breaking the covenant with Liam. Were you aware of this? I was stunned. Wasn't the alliance with the orc supposed to be unbreakable? Could there really be another way? Elder Ling gave me a penetrating look. There is one method, though perilous beyond measure. It requires shared bloodline. By exchanging each other's core essence, the pact can be undone. Her words struck my heart like a hammer, each syllable sending waves of piercing pain through me. That night, I asked Ethan, if I were to use my core essence to save someone, would you understand? Ethan's eyes flew open as he shook his head violently. Master, losing your core essence means certain death. Did Lola force you into this? I stared in shock. What are you talking about? He wore a smug expression. I remembered my past life long ago. Master, 5. I was shocked. In our past life, my sister mistreated Ethan and caused his tragic death. That's such a painful memory. How could he possibly remember all of it? I clicked my tongue, about to ask him something. Ethan added, Lola isn't worth saving. I pressed him for an explanation. He raised his head in silence before finally muttering a few words. You'll find out soon enough anyway. I was completely baffled. Though my sister from the previous life wasn't particularly close to me, she'd never done anything outright terrible. When Liam tried to extract my core essence to save his sister, a sudden thought struck me. Was this actually his sister's doing? Lost in thought, I suddenly heard a mournful whimper outside the door. I opened the door to find Liam sprawled on the doorstep, gazing at me with pitiful eyes. "What are you doing back here?" I snapped impatiently. Liam blinked his fox-like eyes, tears streaming down his face. "Clara, will you be my master?" "I want to break the pact with Lola." I let out a bitter laugh. Was breaking the pact my sister's idea? Is he here to sound me out in advance? Thinking I was interested, Liam tried to throw himself into my arms. Out of nowhere, Ethan leaped forward and kicked him flying. "Get lost. Who the hell do you think you are, making moves on my master?" Ethan pulled me behind him, his towering frame shielding me completely. Liam tumbled twice in midair with shrieks, then scrambled up to glare venomously at Ethan, but knowing he was no match for Ethan, he dared not make a move. Ethan declared arrogantly, "Go tell your master to abandon these crooked schemes, or I'll make you both regret the day you were born." With that, Ethan slammed the door shut, leaving Liam stranded outside. The next day, my mother stormed up to me in a rage. "So you've got eyes for Lola's orc, and you've been carrying on with him." I was stunned. "Mother, when did I ever?" "Lola saw it with her own eyes yesterday. Liam came looking for you again. If you hadn't been leading him on, why would he abandon Lola?" It dawned on me, could it be that my sister secretly followed Liam and saw him visiting me yesterday? But why didn't she confront me then and there, instead of stirring up Mother to come demand answers now? I let out a cold laugh. "Mother, what exactly brings you here today?" Mother froze for a moment, then pulled out a handkerchief to wipe her eyes. "Clara, you and Lola are both the apple of my eye," she said, and then, "Lola is ill now. She needs your help. Would you be willing to swap beast forms with her and give her your core energy?" I burst out laughing. Since childhood, Mother always favored my sister. No matter the situation, my sister's needs came first. Now that my sister's been wounded by allied orcs, Mother's first thought is to trade my life for hers. 6. My face darkened as I refused her. "Ethan is my orc. I won't switch places with my sister, and I'll never give her my core energy. But I've got a solution." My solution was to feed Liam with my sister's flesh. As long as we could keep Liam calm, my sister's condition would naturally improve. Mother was deeply hesitant, but there simply wasn't a better alternative at the time. If we forcibly break the alliance bond, without my core essence, sister will surely die. Mother couldn't bear the thought, so she reluctantly agreed to give it a try. But I didn't tell Mother that even feeding Liam with sister's flesh and blood wouldn't cure him, for as Spirit Nanny once said, Liam's wasting sickness has seeped into his marrow. We're long past the window for treatment. Mother said joyfully. "Lola keeps talking about becoming the spirit realm's princess consort. It seems her wish may come true." The corners of my lips twitched, but I remained silent. "Mother, sister, our paths diverge. Since you've shown no mercy, don't blame me for what comes next. The Spirit Realm Succession Tournament is about to begin. Creatures of the sky and beasts of the land, countless orcs spread the news eagerly, itching for action. Ethan signed up too, clenching his fist with conviction. "Master, I shall unite the Spirit Realm and seat you as its queen. Since the last ruler of the Spirit Realm abdicated centuries ago, this domain has remained lawless and ungoverned." Eventually, after much deliberation, the people resolved to elect a successor to reunify the spirit realm. I ruffled his hair and said, "All right, I'll be waiting." When we arrived at the competition venue, we saw my sister and Liam. My sister was radiant with energy, and Liam looked equally spirited. After giving us a quick once-over, she handed us 2 water bottles. "It's been a long journey, you must be thirsty, have some water." I smiled and passed it to someone else. "No need to trouble yourself, sis, we brought our own water." The person took the water and took a sip. My sister pursed her lips and turned her head away. Ethan took off his canteen, drank a few gulps, then handed it to me before leaping onto the viewing platform. As expected, Ethan advanced to the finals after the first round of competition. Liam also gave it his all and secured a spot in the finals. His sister couldn't contain her excitement, cheering wildly for Liam. But during the finals, Liam's agitation flared up. He lost the match and was even kicked off the viewing platform by his opponent. The sister gasped and rushed forward. Liam lay limp on the ground, blood trickling from his nose and mouth. Even one of his 9 proud tails had been severed. The sister turned pale. A broken tail signified waning spiritual power, stripping him of eligibility to succeed the spirit realm's throne. "No, this can't be true." My sister shook her head. Her eyes clouded with confusion, but he clearly unified the spirit realm. In his past life, Liam did conquer the spirit realm with my help, but now he hasn't even recovered from his illness. How could he possibly claim the throne as spirit lord? I shook her shoulders. "Sis, snap out of it." The crowd let out murmurs of pity, their gazes filled with compassion as they looked at her. Then, my husband on the viewing platform began clapping enthusiastically. The new successor of the spirit realm has emerged. I looked up to see Ethan waving his arm at me excitedly. He truly lived up to expectations. My sister has completely lost it. Despite being reborn and scheming relentlessly, her orc still failed to secure the successor's throne in the spirit realm. Mother's voice turned icy sharp. How could you be so cruel? Why would you betray Lola? My eyes turned icy. Mother. You're so focused on saving sister's life. Did you know losing my core essence would kill me? Mother gaped in shock. Impossible, your sister clearly said. I cut her off. Maybe mother was deceived by sister, but I couldn't bear hearing more about their scheming. The very thought made me sick. Before the match, sister gave me water laced with dissipating agent. I said quietly, she wanted to weaken Ethan's psychic power so he'd lose to Liam. This was what the spirit matron told me. Those orcs who drank the 2 bottles of water were too weak to climb the spectator stands, forced to watch the competition helplessly. Mother's eyes widened in shock. Ethan became the new successor to the spirit realm, while I became his princess consort, accompanying him to this mystical world. Here, free from mother and sister's schemes and worldly troubles, I spend my days watering flowers and playing with birds, living in pure bliss. But soon I could no longer lift the water jug, for I was with child. 7. Ethan was overjoyed, for a successor without progeny is unworthy to rule the spirit realm. Such was the fate of his predecessor. He would often caress my belly and whisper in my ear, how wonderful. With him, it feels like we have everything. Story 2. The virus mutated, and the end of the world came, with my good fighting skills. I protected my boyfriend and my cousin and fled all the way, finally. At the end of the 2nd year of the apocalypse, we arrived near the safe base, but then my boyfriend pushed me to block the zombies from my screaming cousin. In the end, I was torn apart alive by countless zombies. Before I died, my mother who disappeared after taking in my cousin's family flashed through my mind, the family heirloom that was borrowed by my cousin and lost, and the strange expression of a strange man, with a smile but also a look of regret. I opened my eyes wide and looked at my boyfriend who was running away with my cousin. My eyes were full of hatred. Finally, I closed my eyes heavily. At the same time, it seemed that an electronic voice sounded in my ear. 1. When I opened my eyes again, there were no ugly and ferocious zombies, nor that adulterer and adulteress who wanted my life. I was in the bedroom of the apartment where I had lived for a year next to S City University. I couldn't believe it and groped for my phone from the bedside table. When I opened it, it showed, September 20th, 2030, I was reborn. I was reborn a week before the end of the world. I quickly got out of bed and opened the curtains to look down. There was a familiar supermarket downstairs. Opposite was S City University where I had studied for a year. Today, the university had just started school. And there were people coming and going. Everywhere was full of vitality. I rushed into the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. I looked up at my young and delicate face in the mirror. The 19-year-old girl had fair skin, not the skinny and sallow face 2 years later. My name is Valerie, and it's not my time to die. I wanted to shout, but I couldn't even make a sound. The end of the world would come again. In the 2 years of the apocalypse I experienced, the mutation of the virus caused the living dead zombies to surround the city. That's why S City was only 300 kilometers away from Leeching. It only took 4 hours to drive, but it took me a full 2 years to get there. I smiled bitterly and walked into the kitchen. I opened the refrigerator and stuffed all the edible food in it into my mouth. I hadn't eaten enough for a full 2 years. Now I just wanted to have a good meal. After eating 2 sandwiches, a ham, and a small piece of cake, there was only a watermelon left that could be eaten in the refrigerator. I took out the fruit knife next to it and cut the watermelon in half. I accidentally cut my finger. These hands were no longer as rough and ugly as they were after 2 years of surviving in the apocalypse. The fair fingers bled nonstop from a small wound. The blood flowed onto the white jade ring on my middle finger. Suddenly, it went dark in front of my eyes, and I entered a space. The space was 5 times the size of the apartment I lived in. It was estimated to be more than 500 square meters. About 3 meters high, it was empty and had nothing in it. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the kitchen, and the ring was gone. There was only a red dot where the ring was worn. I looked at the red dot in surprise, and the knife in my other hand suddenly disappeared. I shook my head and looked again, and the knife appeared in my hand again, a space like a chinquin bag. I picked up the watermelon next to it and tried. I thought put it away in my mind. And the watermelon disappeared again. Then I thought take it out, and sure enough, it appeared in my hand again. I laughed with excitement and finally understood why my boyfriend of more than 2 years pushed me to block the zombies for Vivian, because in my previous life, the white jade ring left to me by my father was lost after being borrowed by Vivian. I guess she got this opportunity and didn't want to return it to me. The reason why they kept me was that, first, I had learned Taekwondo and could resist the outside enemies to some extent. Second, I was quite good looking and was a famous beauty in the department of chemistry. In case someone had bad intentions, they would definitely set their eyes on me first. In my previous life, Valerie, was out of my mind and couldn't see clearly the duplicity of Vivian and Owen in this life, without my opportunity and me protecting them in front. I want to see what kind of end this adulterer and adulteress will come to. I quickly dealt with the wound. I didn't care about eating anymore and took out all my savings, 700,000 yuan in cash and 2 property certificates. My family condition was not bad. When I was a child, my father ran a jade store, and my mother was a nutritionist. Later, after my father died, my mother sold the jade store and raised me alone. My mother was the only relative I had in this world. In order to make my mother and I live better in the end of the world, I decided to sell the house and turn it into cash to stockpile food quickly. In fact, there should be 3 property certificates at home. One was the property certificate of the old house, which was given to my father by my grandfather. The property certificate of the villa in Liqing was with my mother. I only had the property certificate of the apartment my mother bought for me when I came to study in S City. And the property certificate of the house compensated after my father died in a car accident when I was in primary school. This property certificate was in my name, but Vivian's family was still living in this house. It was not easy for my mother to raise me alone. She always thought that it was easy for our mother and daughter to be bullied, so she hoped that my uncle could take care of us when we were bullied. And my good uncle directly took Vivian's family and moved into this compensated house. He said it was to help us look after the house, but in fact, he was taking advantage of us and wanted to occupy our family property. My mother didn't take the house back out of consideration for our relationship. This time, I decided to break off the relationship directly. I immediately called my mother. "Hello, Valerie, my dear." It was a familiar voice that I hadn't heard for 2 years. I suppressed my sadness and took a deep breath. My tone was very calm. "Mom, I miss you. I want to go home." "Oh, what's wrong, Valerie? Is someone bullying you at school?" "Mom, I'm fine. It's almost the weekend. I want to go home and see you. I will also buy some things and send them back. Please help me collect them. Besides, I saw several cases of burglary and murder online. I think the doors and windows at home are not strong enough and I don't feel safe, so I want to renovate the house. Mom, will you support me?" Okay. Mom will cook some delicious food at home and wait for you to come back." My mother, who always thought I had suffered, would agree to everything as long as I didn't do anything wrong. 2. I'm not sure if the end of the world will come early. I must go home early, but I can't send supplies home directly. To avoid being targeted by the renovation workers, I have to stockpile some supplies in S City before leaving. I only survived for 2 years in the end of the world. And I don't know what extreme challenges are waiting for us after 2 years. I need to buy everything. To save time, I contacted a reliable construction team in Liqing online. "Hello, master. I have a house in the villa area of Liqing that I want to renovate. I want to add an electric fence to the wall, reinforce the doors and windows, use 5-layer steel hardened glass for the windows, and install underfloor heating, a generator, and a water storage tank. I need it to be renovated within 3 days." The master looked speechless. "That's impossible. Many things need to be measured and we have to wait for the factory to deliver the goods. I'll triple the price." "Girl, 3 days is too rushed. Quadruple the price. Tell me the specific address, and I'll send someone right away." After doing all this, I paid a deposit of 200,000 yuan, remembering the days of lacking food and clothing in my previous life. I thought that Owen abandoned me immediately and ran away with Vivian because he knew about her space. When they secretly ate and stored food behind my back, I was enduring the cold and hunger. In this life, I must live a good life with my mother. The space was only 500 square meters, and I had to calculate every square meter carefully. Fortunately, it was high enough to stack things, worried about missing something. I made a shopping list for myself. 100 square meters for food, rice, cooking oil, noodles, bread, chocolate, biscuits, instant noodles, self-heating hot pot, meat, vegetables, fruits, dried goods, salt, seasonings, and all kinds of snacks. 100 square meters for water, barreled water, mineral water, domestic water, beverages, milk. 50 square meters for clothing. 1,000 sets of clothes and shoes for my mother and me for all seasons. I also prepared some styles for women, men, and children in case of need. I also added some quilt covers and warm keeping supplies. 50 square meters for medicine, common medicines for daily colds and fevers, injuries from falls, antibiotics, wind oil essence, cooling oil, alcohol, iodophor, disinfected gauze, Yunnan bio, etc. I placed orders in various pharmacies for both traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine. For the medicines that couldn't be bought, I would collect them when the end of the world came. 100 square meters for daily necessities, toothpaste, toothbrush, paper towels, toilet paper, sanitary napkins, pots and pans, solid alcohol, gas, shampoo, shower gel, hand sanitizer, towels, insecticides, garbage bags, and extra-large trash cans. Among them, I set aside 20 square meters for weapons, baseball bats, crossbows and arrows, spiked clubs, fruit knives, military knives, anti-wolf spray, stun guns, entrenching shovels, etc. For the last 100 square meters, I decided to put a motorhome, an SUV, a motorcycle, and 3 speedboats, and fill them with gasoline and diesel. If I could fill this 500 square meter space that was 3 meters high, my mother and I could live a good life for 10 years in the end of the world. It was too time-consuming and laborious to stockpile supplies by myself. I directly rented a large warehouse in a remote area of Leeching Online for 2 weeks. I also contacted 6 intermediaries and hired them for a week at a price of 10,000 yuan each. I gave each of them a purchase list for a category of supplies and asked them to contact the sellers in the large market and buy food, water, daily necessities, and clothing in units of 1,000. I also gave an extra 20,000 yuan to each intermediary who could buy medicines and gasoline. Medicines and gasoline were controlled items, and it was more troublesome to contact the sellers. It was reasonable to give more money. They couldn't buy a lot of medicines and gasoline. But I decided to stockpile some first and collect more when there was no control after the end of the world. There were many things I couldn't explain in detail. Following the principle that the more you say, the more mistakes you make, I told each intermediary, it's a purchase for the company, there is a budget of 1 million yuan, the quality needs to be guaranteed, and other things can be adjusted flexibly. The supplies need to be inspected and put into the designated warehouse within 3 days. Contact me after the things are confirmed. I will pay the deposit, and I will pay the remaining balance and the intermediary fee after the supplies are put in storage. I don't know if the intermediaries are trustworthy, but this is the fastest way to collect supplies that I can think of in the shortest time. Of course, I know that buying so many things will arouse suspicion. I don't plan to meet any of the intermediaries. After using the space to take away the supplies, when the end of the world comes and the network is completely cut off, who will have the time to check? There are many things to prepare. The construction team will be at home these days. To avoid suspicion, I only ordered some outdoor supplies like ropes, backpacks, masks, and protective clothing online. I put all the things in the apartment into the space and made an appointment with the intermediary to sell the 2 houses in my name first. The old villa will be our home for a long time. In my previous life, the old villa was very close to the safe base. In case that area is included in the safe base in the future, it will be a loss to sell it. I tidied myself up, took my ID card and property certificates, and went to meet the intermediary to get the money as soon as possible. I sold the 2 houses at 60% of the price. I only received 8 million yuan for the 2 houses, which was almost the price I expected, after getting the money. I also vaguely reminded the intermediary that the city might be sealed again in a few days and it was better to stockpile some food. In addition, I specifically told them to take over the houses 6 days later, leaving my uncle's family homeless one day before the end of the world. 3. It was 2 p.m. after I got the money, and I was going to find a restaurant to eat. Oh, what a coincidence. Vivian was pulling Owen's arm and acting coquettishly on the opposite side of the road. The intermediary store was near the school. It was not surprising to meet either Owen or Vivian, but it was really strange that they were together. I immediately took out my phone and took a few photos. These photos could definitely make people recognize who these 2 people pulling and tugging were. Owen and I were classmates, although Vivian was in the same grade as us. She was a student in the Department of Economics and Management, now. Owen and I had just been in a relationship for less than 3 months. It didn't matter why they were together. I just wanted them to experience the end of the world without me in the space, where their lives would be worse than death. Looking at them, the hatred and killing intent in my eyes were so strong that it seemed I could turn them into knives and stab them into their hearts. Owen seemed to see me and panicked for a moment. He let go of Vivian's hand and walked towards me directly. Vivian slowly followed behind Owen. Valerie, why are you here? Where are you going? He was 185 meters tall, with delicate features and fair skin. Owen looked like a tall, handsome, and sunny boy. Back then, I got together with him not because I was obsessed with his eye-catching face. I liked his family. He was an only son. His parents were high school teachers, and they loved each other. His family was harmonious and warm. I had met his parents who came to visit him at school. The family atmosphere was like a beam of light shining into my life that lacked fatherly love since I was a child. After meeting his parents, I almost didn't hesitate to agree to be his girlfriend. Unfortunately, it was all just an appearance. It's not the time to take revenge yet, but I could at least get some interest. I closed my eyes, and the hatred in my eyes turned into anger, looking at my angry eyes. Owen thought I misunderstood him. I was going to find you with Vivian. Slap. A crisp slapping sound rang out. I used all my strength, and Owen's face was slapped to the side. A red palm print quickly appeared. "Sister, how could you hit Owen?" Vivian exclaimed. Owen raised his head, and a trace of viciousness flashed in his eyes. I saw it clearly, but so what? Vivian was a woman he liked but hadn't slept with yet. Owen wouldn't tear his face at this moment. Slap. The slapping sound rang out again, and this time it hit Vivian's face. "Ah, why did you hit me?" Vivian stared at me hatefully, then she seemed to think of something and quickly lowered her head and started crying softly. "Owen, we're breaking up." After saying that, I turned around and left. I didn't want to waste time with this adulterer and adulteress. Owen quickly ran up and grabbed my hand. "Valerie, are you misunderstanding me and Vivian? There's nothing between us, we just happened to meet." Vivian said she wanted to go to your place to find you together. Vivian also quickly came over and held my hand. She groped my hand and said, "Yeah, sister, you've misunderstood us. Don't be angry. Let's go to your place and I'll explain to you." "Okay." I shook off their hands. "Sister, who's your sister? You were so intimate with my boyfriend. Your family even occupied the inheritance my father got as compensation after the car accident. You ate the food stained with human blood and you still want to be sisters with me?" "Sister, you've misunderstood. There's nothing between me and Owen. My aunt told us to move in. If you mind, we'll move out right away." "Fine, then call your father immediately and tell them to get out." Vivian tried to hold me again and said anxiously, "Sister, what's wrong with you?" Slap. I slapped Vivian again. "Get lost." Vivian raised her hand as if she wanted to slap me back, but halfway through, she touched her face and cried with tears streaming down her face, "Sister, we'll move right away. Can you lend me your ring for 2 days? I have a competition and I need this ring as a prop, just for 2 days. No, 1 day is enough." I was highly alert. In my previous life, it was the same lame excuse. She came to me in a panic and said she lost the ring just 2 days after borrowing it. But in this life, she endured my 2 slaps just for the ring and even deliberately touched the place where the ring was on my hand. Has Vivian also been reborn? I looked at Vivian and chuckled. "You want the ring? Sure, kneel down and beg me." Vivian looked at me in shock. Her face changed several times. She glanced at Owen and finally fell silent. Owen didn't seem to want to pay attention to Vivian. He directly stepped beside me and looked at me. "Valerie, I didn't know what your relationship with Vivian is. She came to me and said she wanted to find you together. There's really nothing between me and her, don't misunderstand." His gentle and considerate look as a good boyfriend made me want to vomit. I didn't bother to look at him and turned around to walk to the roadside and directly hailed a taxi to leave. Sitting in the car, I touched my hand. If Vivian has been reborn and she knows the secret of the space, I must get rid of her as soon as possible. In my previous life, Owen might have known that Vivian had a space, but Vivian might not have told him that the space was in the physical ring. This time, Vivian asked for the ring in front of Owen. If she dared to tell Owen the secret, with Owen's intelligence, he would definitely guess that the ring was the space immediately, but Vivian doesn't know that I also know the secret of the space. In order to get the space, she will definitely come to me again, and in order to monopolize the space, she definitely won't be willing to reveal the secret, in order not to let Vivian notice that I've also been reborn. I specifically only asked for a 2-day leave from school, with the 2 days of the weekend added. If she can't find me on the 5th day, she will be kicked out of the house on the 6th day. After thinking it through, I pretended to take out a tablet from my bag. Owen's chat account was still logged in, from their chat records. I could see that Vivian was reborn at the same time as me. After being reborn, Vivian had a clear plan. First, she expressed to Owen that she was willing to have an affair with him behind my back and asked for 1 million yuan. She sold herself for 5 years. Then she came to me to get the space ring. She calculated so shrewdly, why not let everyone see it? I directly took screenshots and sent all the photos I just took on the campus website with the caption, "Shocking. Should we report my boyfriend Owen for soliciting prostitutes? Is the fee of 1 million yuan for Vivian's solicitation expensive? This will definitely arouse a lot of discussion. Let them become famous." After getting out of the taxi, my first stop was the car dealership. As soon as I walked into the car dealership, a salesman with an oiled back hairstyle came over. "Beautiful lady, are you buying a car?" "No, I'm renting a car." The obsequious attitude of the salesman disappeared immediately and he said in an ordinary tone, "What kind of car do you want to rent?" I raised my hand and pointed at a Hummer. "This one, I want to rent it for a week." After paying the deposit and the rent, I drove the car to a roadside restaurant and had a quick stir-fry. I packed 3 boxes of steamed buns to eat on the way later. After eating, I got in the car and put the steamed buns into the space. Then I directly drove to rent a warehouse of 1,000 square meters beside the large market. In addition to asking others to help stockpile supplies, I also had to stockpile a batch myself. Anyway, things can be stacked in the space. I won't know what I'm still lacking until I go to the large market. I visited several agricultural trade stores selling seeds and chose the one with the most complete variety to place an order. "I want all the seeds on your stall." Is it possible to get 100 bags of each kind? 100 bags of each kind. Are you sure? Sure. The boss looked at me suspiciously. He seemed to think that anything could happen in an agricultural trade store, so he didn't ask more. He directly shouted towards the backyard, "Dawei, there's business. Come and move the goods." Then he happily came over and pulled me to sit down. "Young lady, sit down. You're lucky. We just stocked up a few days ago. We have a complete variety and quantity of seeds." After paying the money, I left the address of the warehouse for the boss and asked her to deliver the goods. Then I went to the nearby fruit and vegetable market and bought a lot of potatoes, tomatoes, bok choy, bananas, cucumbers, cantaloupes. I stocked up about 500 snakeskin bags of most of the fruits and vegetables. After finishing all this, 2 hours had passed. I took out the steamed buns from the space and was pleasantly surprised to find that the buns were still steaming hot. The time in the space is frozen. I immediately called several restaurants that I usually like and ordered 500 servings of each of my favorite dishes. I made an appointment for them to deliver to the warehouse at 10 p.m. and repeatedly confirmed with the merchants that the food should be hot. Then I went to order 500 servings of various grains, oils, and seasonings. I also ordered 100 servings each of pork, beef, mutton, chicken, fish, salt, and various seasonings. I also contacted the water plant and ordered 10 tons of water, which was almost 500 barrels of household barreled water. All the things I ordered were supposed to be delivered to the warehouse today. Someone will definitely find the abnormality of the warehouse, but I'll leave tomorrow anyway. Who cares? I drove around and bought the maximum share that I could buy from every pharmacy in the city. I also bought some baseball bats, watermelon knives, kitchen knives, crossbows, stun guns, entrenching shovels, and other weapons. On the way, I successively received calls from the intermediaries asking for the deposit. By the time I paid the deposit, bought the medicine, and returned to the warehouse, it was already 11 p.m. I asked the person guarding the warehouse to leave in advance. I took out the key from the mailbox beside the warehouse and opened the door. Looking at the warehouse full of stacked supplies, I felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. After collecting all the supplies, I closed the warehouse door and casually threw the warehouse key on the car. I was ready to drive the Hummer back to Licheng. For less than 30 minutes after leaving the city and getting on the highway, there were several gunshots coming from the front. There were also gunshots on the right side. I stepped on the brake urgently, but I still couldn't avoid crashing into the large truck parked across the road in front of me. A hoarse and ear-piercing scream broke the silent night. "It's a zombie." Before I could react, a zombie that jumped out from somewhere directly hit the front glass of the Hummer with its head. Its grayish-white face was stuck on the glass and it roared at me ferociously, in fear. I took out a fruit knife from the space and stabbed it straight into the zombie's head. Then I quickly took out a backpack from the space, pushed open the car door and climbed out. More intensive gunshots rang out. I quickly ran backward. A harsh braking sound sounded in front of me. I quickly ran closer and opened the passenger door and got in. "Retreat quickly. There are zombies ahead." Before I finished speaking, the car started again and drove quickly towards the national road beside us. I looked back through the rearview mirror. It was the army. The army was clearing the zombies. The zombies appeared so early. In my previous life, I heard that the virus mutated in a research laboratory deep in the mountains of Yusur near S City. The mother virus escaped. Once bitten, the virus would spread through body fluids and ordinary people would quickly turn into zombies. Ordinary zombies also have the ability to spread the virus, and the newly bitten ordinary zombies have similar visual, olfactory, auditory, and motor abilities to normal humans. But these abilities will deteriorate as the time of being bitten gets longer. That is to say, other zombies will self-destruct over time. The only thing that really needs to be killed is the mother virus. It is said that the mother virus has abilities beyond human limits and is elusive. As long as the mother virus is not completely eliminated, the zombies will never end. To kill a zombie, you just need to hit its heart or head. Looking at the zombies that were shot and fell behind, I tightly pressed my wildly beating heart with my hand and took a deep breath. Then I turned to look at the man in the driver's seat. The orange streetlights flickered on and off. The light hit the man's clean eyebrows and eyes. His fair face had deep features. The short hair that was difficult for ordinary people to carry suited him very well. He was wearing a white shirt and was unforgettable. Strange, this man was too calm in the face of zombies. I tried to talk to him. "I'm Valerie, thank you just now." The man was silent for a while. His dark pupils glanced at me indifferently and his clean and deep voice sounded, "Trevor, you're welcome. Wait, why does this name sound so familiar? But I really can't remember where I heard it. Are you going to Licheng? My car was damaged just now. If you're going to Licheng, can you give me a ride? I can pay for the fare." "Yeah." Before I could talk to him more, dense gunshots rang out again from behind. I looked back and two military trucks rushed towards our direction, listening to the roars of the zombies. This time it was obviously not the army chasing the zombies, but the army being chased by the zombies. Trevor stepped on the gas pedal to the bottom. The military truck's performance was obviously better. Soon, one military truck overtook our car. A soldier with a wheat-colored complexion on the military truck stretched out his hand from the car window and motioned for us to drive the car into the gas station not far ahead. As soon as the car entered the station, everyone desperately ran towards the service supermarket behind the gas station. At this time, there were no other people in the gas station except the two gas station employees. As soon as we entered the supermarket, a young soldier got out of the military truck and ran towards us. He spoke very quickly. "We're going to lead the zombies to the gas station and blow it up. You guys leave from the back quickly." They were going to blow up the gas station. Did they plan to die together with the zombies? "Give me a gun, I can use it." Trevor's expression was quite calm. The young soldier directly threw the gun in his hand to Trevor and quickly took out another one from his waist. In the face of zombies, what were prohibited items? It was already good to be able to survive. Trevor took the gun and pulled me to run towards the back of the supermarket. Two gas station employees and two soldiers ran with us. At this time, another military truck crashed into the supermarket door. I turned around and saw a swarm of zombies following behind the military truck. Among them, there was a male zombie with his upper body bare. His whole body was blue. He jumped onto the military truck in one step. Several soldiers got out of the military truck and rushed into the supermarket. Two of the soldiers only had time to get out of the military truck and were immediately knocked down and overwhelmed by the swarming zombies. Trevor shot at the head of the blue zombie and hit it right in the eye. A shrill scream sounded. Trevor quickly pulled me over the back wall of the supermarket and ran towards the small river not far behind. Dense gunshots rang out. Boom. There was a loud explosion. The shockwave of the explosion pushed us into the river. Boom, boom, boom. The gas station exploded for the second time. I felt someone holding me tightly in the river. The next moment, a burning pain came from my head and I lost consciousness. 5. In a daze, I saw the dilapidated Inuan villa area in Licheng. In my villa, there were only my uncle with a sallow face and my cousin. Where was my mother? I searched every room in the villa but couldn't find my mother. My uncle mumbled that my mother and my aunt went out to find food together one day and never came back. I stared into my uncle's eyes and questioned him. "Since there's no food, how did you two survive?" The next moment, there were white and blinding bones behind the villa in front of my eyes. I broke out in cold sweat all over my body and suddenly opened my eyes. I saw a completely strange bedroom. There was a slight pain in my hand. I turned my head and saw Trevor taking out the needle of the intravenous drip for me. "You're awake. Do you want to drink some water?" Trevor picked up the water beside him and handed it to me. "Thank you." I took the water and drank 2 sips. I raised my hand and rubbed my sore head. Someone knocked on the door twice and came in with a bowl of porridge. "The little sister is awake. It seems that the medicine your friend risked to find last night was very effective." It was a woman wearing a gas station employee's uniform. She looked about 30 years old and was very thin. She said her name was Willow and she came to bring me the porridge. After delivering the porridge, she left, risking finding medicine. I looked at Trevor in a daze. "Thank you for saving me." What did she mean by risking and finding medicine? We had just met. I didn't expect Trevor to take risks for a stranger like me. It wasn't very dangerous. I'm a doctor. There was a clinic nearby. "You should have hurt your head yesterday. You seemed to be in pain even when you were unconscious, so I went to get you some painkillers like Rotendine. The intravenous drip I hung for you just now was nutrient solution. In the 2 years of the apocalypse in my previous life, I had never seen such a kind person," I said softly. "If there's anything I can do to help in the future, you can make a request." Trevor smiled after hearing this. He leaned back on the chair and relaxed. "Don't you remember who I am at all?" I was stunned. "Do we know each other?" I thought carefully. The memories of the 2 years of the apocalypse in my previous life were too deep. There was no such person in my other memories either. Trevor saw that I really couldn't remember and took the initiative to say, "When we first met when we were children, you were crying and holding on to me. I didn't expect you to be joking." Seeing that I didn't believe him, Trevor said again, "My grandfather also lives in the Inuan villa area. We were neighbors when we were children. When you were in the 3rd grade of primary school, I was in the 6th grade. I often took you to school together. I followed my parents to Pingching in the capital to study after graduating from primary school. I rarely came back later. Don't you remember me or didn't you recognize me?" I recognized you at a glance. I thought about it seriously, but I couldn't remember anything. I only vaguely felt that the name Trevor was familiar, but I still tried to call out, "Brother Trevor." Trevor briefly told me what happened after I passed out, after the explosion stopped. When we came out of the river, we had been washed away from the gas station. The 6 of us had some scratches more or less, but I was the only one who passed out because I was hit by a panel. The gas station and its surroundings had been flattened. The flames were blinding. But before we could feel sorry for the soldiers, we saw that the people who were awakened by the explosion and came out to check the situation all turned into zombies one by one. That explosion took away all the other zombies at the gas station, but the mother virus didn't die. After escaping from the explosion, it vented its anger on the nearby residents like a madman, according to the 2 soldiers who escaped with us. The research direction of the Usher Research Institute at that time was human body transformation. The mother virus might have extremely strong recovery ability. These 2 soldiers were communication soldiers in the army. One of them was the soldier with a wheat-colored complexion who gestured to us on the national road. His name was Aaron. The other soldier, who was slightly taller, was named Adrian. They were the only 2 who evacuated in advance among the soldiers. We never expected that the zombies couldn't be solved at all. We were still near the gas station at that time. The zombies spread too fast, and we didn't have time to go out. We could only knock on the doors of the nearby residents, but the changes made people vigilant, and almost no one was willing to open the door for us. If it wasn't for Grandpa Adam's kindness, all of us would have died outside. We were currently living in Grandpa Adam's house. It was a simple 2-bedroom and 1 living room house. The child's parents were working outside. Currently, only Grandpa Adam, who was 64 years old, and his 7-year-old grandson were at home. After listening to Trevor, I finished the porridge in my hand. I gently opened a corner of the curtain. It was already getting light. Sensitive zombies were wandering in all directions on the road. I couldn't speak for a long time. Just now, Willow said that Trevor risked his life to go out and find medicine for me. How could the 2 words "risked his life" describe it? Fortunately, this wasn't the city center, and there were no dense crowds of zombies that couldn't be seen the end of. I put down the curtain and looked at Trevor and said softly, "Brother Trevor, thank you for risking your life for me. When I went to find the medicine, it wasn't as dangerous as it is now. You don't have to keep thanking me." I suddenly remembered that the zombies broke out early. Would there be danger at home now? Brother Trevor, is my bag still there? I want to call my mom. Trevor handed me the backpack and said, "The signal is cut off, and you can't get through on the phone. I have to leave here and go home." Brother Trevor, what are your plans next? I'm going to Inuan in Leeching. I originally planned to go back to Leeching to celebrate Grandpa's birthday. Then let's get ready and leave. Trevor nodded and went out to inform the others. I quickly packed up, put on my backpack, and went out. Everyone was already ready. The 2 soldiers, Aaron and Adrian, were going to the military base in Leeching. The 2 gas station employees, Willow and Wesley, were going home. It was a 20-minute journey from here, and Trevor and I were also going to Leeching. We decided to go out to find a car together. After finding a car, the gas station employees would go home, and we would go to Leeching with the soldiers. Before going out, I secretly put down 4 bags of rice and 2 boxes of water in the kitchen. It was enough for Grandpa Adam and his grandson to live for a few months, and I told Grandpa Adam, "Grandpa Adam, there are zombies biting people all over the street. Not everyone is trustworthy. To protect your grandson, don't open the door to anyone easily." We were lucky to be saved, but if I didn't have the space, Grandpa Adam and his grandson would also be dragged down by our group because of the food. 6. We first went to a hardware store not far away to get weapons. Trevor, the 2 soldiers, and I all chose kitchen knives. Wesley and Willow didn't dare to take knives and chose steel pipes. To avoid all the zombies surrounding us, no one dared to use a gun. The 2 soldiers walked in front with knives. Trevor and Wesley walked on the left and right sides respectively. Willow and I walked in the middle. Although the zombies were agile, fortunately, we were near the national road, and there were not many people or zombies. As long as we overcame our fear of the zombies, it wasn't that difficult to kill them. The 6 of us quickly moved towards the place where there were cars. Suddenly, Trevor turned around without warning, holding a kitchen knife in his hand. He slashed fiercely at what was behind me. Along with the sound of the kitchen knife cutting into the flesh was a low growl from a non-human. Hoo-hoo. I quickly swung my kitchen knife towards what was behind me. The kitchen knife knocked the zombie's head aside. When Willow reacted and looked behind her, a pale face covered in blood was right next to her face. Willow let out a scream. I took back my kitchen knife and quickly covered her mouth, but it was too late. All the zombies rushed towards us. The 6 of us quickly ran towards the direction where there were fewer zombies. A long line of zombies followed behind us. The zombies surrounding us in the front fell one by one under the attack of the 2 soldiers and Trevor. I followed behind them and killed the zombies they didn't take care of. The zombies behind were about to catch up. Willow screamed again when she saw the zombies pouncing in front of her, and Wesley had hidden between the soldiers and Willow. I quickly pulled Willow to one side and took care of the rear. To kill the zombies with one blow, I slashed at the zombies' necks with each knife. The zombies' heads were their weak points, and so were their necks, although each blow was accurate. Unfortunately, after a long time, strength was my weak point. And the knife's edge was curled. I swung the curled kitchen knife in my hand expressionlessly. I wasn't willing to die here after being reborn. At this time, several gunshots came from behind. Immediately, more intensive gunshots rang out. The zombies were stimulated by the gunshots and moved faster. Suddenly, a hand pulled me to the left with force. It blocked the zombies, looking at the zombies pouncing in front of me. I used all my strength to cut off the zombie's neck and continued to slash beside me along the force. Ah, a shrill scream sounded, Wesley's arm fell to the ground, and blood splashed all over my and his upper clothes. The zombies pounced more excitedly. I quickened my pace and stepped back, and Wesley had been knocked down and overwhelmed by the zombies, just because I saved Willow and there was no human shield between him and the zombies. He used me to block the zombies. What a useless man. Did he think women were weak and could be bullied? In my previous life, I was pushed into the zombie horde once. How could I not be on guard in this life? The army is here. Willow seemed to not see the dead Wesley and looked towards the direction of the army in surprise. Trevor glanced in my direction, seeing that I was okay. He didn't say anything. The group of us accelerated the speed of clearing the zombies, but among the zombies, I saw Wesley, who had been knocked down by the zombies. He was covered in blood, and his grayish-white eyes that had obviously turned into a zombie stared at me. I was shocked. Before I could react, I saw Wesley pounce towards me faster than the other zombies. Obviously, Willow was closer to Wesley. I quickly took out a new kitchen knife from the space and slashed at Wesley's neck. Then I continued to run backward. I turned my head and saw that Wesley had completely fallen. 7. A dozen military trucks could be seen ahead. The soldiers wearing green camouflage uniforms were standing on the roof of the trucks and shooting at the zombies in an orderly manner. Strangely, each shot didn't hit the zombies' heads, and no blood flowed out. The zombies lay quietly on the ground. The zombies in the middle of the road were also moved to the side of the road by the soldiers. This scene was very strange. The two soldiers should have been called to ask questions. Trevor, Willow, and I were taken onto a military green truck heading out of the city. Through the car window, it was obvious that this section of the national road had been blocked off. It was not easy to get off the truck. We were taken to a shed for a full-body examination and questioning. After being quarantined for 24 hours, we signed a national confidentiality agreement and were released, until now. I finally understood why I thought the end of the world would come in a week, but I met the zombies so early. It turned out that the country had already made the greatest efforts, and from shooting to besieging, there were some secrets about these zombies. The journey on the road had been delayed for 2 days. The time left for me was not much, and today was also the time to check the supplies, after being released from quarantine. I told Trevor my concerns about the zombies and prepared to buy more supplies. We separated and went our own way. I rented a car again and drove directly to the warehouse I rented before. I didn't meet the intermediaries. It was all online transactions. After the last batch of supplies was put into storage, I handed over the balance and the warehouse password to the intermediaries online, and this deal was over. After everyone evacuated, I drove around the warehouse to observe it and then entered the warehouse to collect the supplies with the space. After collecting the supplies, I always felt that there was a burning gaze staring at me from behind. I looked back, but there was nothing. Was I exposed? I quickly left the warehouse and drove around the warehouse again to observe. Still, I found nothing. I couldn't be sure if there was someone or it was just an illusion. I didn't care so much. I would go home to see my mom first. It was already evening when I returned to the community. There was a large truck unloading goods in front of Trevor's house next door. When Trevor saw me passing by, he came over and exchanged contact information with me. The construction of my house for 3 days had also ended. I thought my mom had paid the balance to the construction team. I opened the door with the key and saw my mom cutting vegetables in the kitchen wearing an apron. The warm light shone on her, and she was still the same as in my memory. My mom turned around and walked towards me when she heard the sound. Ching ching, you're back. I thought you didn't come back yesterday, but you should be home today. We can have a meal soon. Listening to my mom's chattering voice, this rebirth finally felt real. When my mom came over, I hugged her and my eyes couldn't help but turn red. There was no time when I was more grateful than at this moment that I had a space full of supplies. The end of the world would still come, but I could take my mom and rewrite our destiny. After tidying up and having a meal, I pulled my mom to sit down. Mom, I want to tell you something. Although it's absurd, you must believe me. I told my mom everything that happened in my previous life without hiding anything. At first, my mom thought I had a big dream and hugged me to comfort me, until I showed my mom my space ability. The national road to leeching is already in chaos. In 4 days, the virus will break out completely. Mom, you have to believe me. My uncle and his family really killed us. I don't ask you to take revenge. I just need you to ignore them. Listening to my choking voice, my mom's throat tightened. Finally, she said with difficulty, Ching Ching, Mom believes you. No matter what happens in the future, Mom will stand by your side. 8. In the afternoon of September 26, 2030, Vivian's family was finally driven out of the house. Vivian didn't have much money in her hand. Her parents wouldn't believe the so-called end-of-the-world statement. All Vivian could do was try to stockpile food at home. But no matter how much food she stockpiled, she didn't have a house. These foods would only become their death warrants. Vivian's family appeared in front of my house with big and small bags of luggage and a pile of food that was obviously stockpiled by Vivian when she went home. They banged on the door. Just listening to the sound was enough to show how angry they were. I picked up a baseball bat and hit Vivian's father's hand that was knocking on the door. Vivian's father was startled and quickly stepped aside to avoid it. The baseball bat narrowly missed his hand, but before he could be lucky, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the baseball bat hitting towards his head. Vivian's father hurriedly hid behind his son. Theodore, murder. You're worse than an animal. You even want to kill your own uncle. The old ones are despicable, and the young ones are also despicable. On the 6th of last month, I saw you checking into a hotel with another woman at the Binley Hotel. A few days ago, I saw Vivian flirting with my boyfriend. The upper beam is crooked, and the lower beam is also crooked. Get away from here, or I'll let you know what it means to be worse than dead. When I mentioned the Binley Hotel, my uncle obviously became guilty. But his anger quickly replaced it. He raised his hand to grab my baseball bat. I turned around and took out a kitchen knife from behind. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my aunt's expression change from doubt to shock, and then her eyes turned red. It seemed that she thought of something. I stepped back behind the door and closed the door with force. I learned this news from Vivian in my previous life when she pretended to be pitiful and revealed it to me. The whole family knew about it, except my aunt. But from my perspective, my aunt, who was the most active in occupying my family's property and thought that my family only had me and my mom left and that my cousin should inherit the family business in the future, wasn't worthy of pity. It didn't matter whether my aunt believed it or not. What was important was to plant the seeds of doubt and make their family fall apart from the inside. The sound of their argument came from outside the door. Soon they knocked on the door again. I have something very important to tell you. I have something that can save our lives. Vivian's anxious voice sounded outside the door. I directly hung a loudspeaker on the door. My uncle, Tobias, occupied the family property. Tobias cheated on his wife at X hotel on X month X day. My cousin, Vivian, seduced my boyfriend, and they still dared to come to the door to grab the ancestral house. As soon as I hung up the loudspeaker, my uncle slapped Vivian. Why did you seduce her boyfriend? If it wasn't for you, would she have sold the house? Before Vivian could defend herself, Trevor came with the property management to drive them away and directly said that he had called the police, forced by the property management's eviction and the ridicule of the onlookers in the villa area. Vivian's family dragged their big and small bags and a lot of food and went to a hotel outside the villa area in full view. I then brought a basin of chicken cooked by my mom from home and sent it to Trevor's house to express my gratitude. That night, Vivian sent me a friend verification message. I've called Owen over. We can explain to you. Can we meet? That's exactly what I want. I directly approved her friend request and replied, "What's between me and Owen? When did you have the right to call him, act crazy? The more unreasonable I am, the more normal it is. It's really a misunderstanding. You can hit me or scold me, but I just want to clear up the misunderstanding. Really, tie Owen up and let me vent my anger. Okay, as long as you're willing to lend me the ring." After 12 o'clock at night, I went to the hotel. Owen had come from school in the afternoon and was staying in the room next to Vivian's family. Knowing that the end of the world was coming, Vivian was quite generous and directly booked a penthouse suite in the hotel. As soon as I knocked on the door, Owen opened it. When he saw me, he immediately came to hug me. I dodged into the room. Vivian was sitting at the table and warmly greeted me. "Sister, you're finally here. Are you thirsty? Have a glass of water first." I looked at Vivian coldly. "Didn't you say you would tie him up for me to vent my anger? What, can't you do it?" They exchanged a glance. Owen closed the door and came to hug me again. I took out an electric stun baton from the space with my hands behind my back and stunned Owen directly. Vivian stared at me in surprise. The space. Before she could say anything more, I kicked her to the ground. I used all my strength for this kick. Vivian almost fainted from the kick. After calming down for a while, Vivian stared blankly at the ceiling and muttered, "Why? I've been reborn, and now you're here to stop me. You've been reborn, and is this all you can do?" Vivian's face turned pale with anger. "What do you know? I'm not like you. I have no money, so I can only borrow from Owen. After you sent the chat records to the school network, Owen didn't want to lend me money anymore. I told him the end of the world was coming and asked him to stockpile food, but he didn't believe me at all. He came here because he couldn't stand the rumors and wanted to sleep with you and threaten you to clarify the things on the school network." "Really? Then we'll settle both the old and new grudges this time." I took out the medicine made from Diefenbachia and pinched Vivian's neck to make her swallow it. After making her lose her voice with the poison, I severed her hand tendons. Vivian curled up in pain and couldn't make a sound with her hoarse throat. She soon fainted from the pain. The grudges from the previous life end here. As for the grudges in this life, I picked up the water that Vivian prepared for me on the table and made her drink it. I kicked Owen, who was lying on the ground, made a 10 cm long wound on each of his calves, tied him up and hung him on the second floor. The blood from the wounds dripped to the ground along his calves. When he woke up, there would be a surprise waiting for him. I took out the surveillance cameras and installed them in the room and the corridor. Then I climbed from the outer wall of the hotel to my uncle's room next door, installed a surveillance camera above the window, and sent out a drone to monitor at all times. After doing all this, I went home, at 2 a.m. on September 27, 2030. In the surveillance footage, Vivian woke up. Her face was flushed. She struggled to get up from the ground, opened the door with her body, and kicked the door of the next room. Seeing her disheveled look, Vivian's parents immediately called 110 and 120, but no one answered. Finally, they called 2 hotel staff and a security guard to go to the hospital together. However, the smell of blood on Owen had already attracted some zombies. Under the cover of the night, the zombies had come downstairs of the hotel. Yes, the national end of the world came again, 3 hours ago. The zombies had spread rapidly around with the national road as the center. Vivian was helped into the car. In a daze, she saw 5 or 6 people on the ground gnawing on something. 2 of them noticed them and were about to stand up. Vivian woke up instantly and struggled to get out of the car and rushed into the hotel. Vivian's father and Vivian's mother were wondering what was going on when a sharp scream suddenly burst out in their ears. The 2 hotel staff were being gnawed on by the zombies, and other zombies were running towards Vivian's father and Vivian's mother. Vivian's father pushed Vivian's mother towards the zombies and fled back to the hotel with the security guard. 6 people went down, and only 3 came back, and it was highly likely that the hotel lobby couldn't be defended. Back on the top floor of the hotel, Vivian's father and the security guard collapsed on the ground. Vivian couldn't hold on any longer because the medicine was taking effect. But no one cared whether she was alive or dead at this moment. With her last bit of strength, Vivian forced herself on the hotel security uncle, maybe because he was scared by the zombies. 2 minutes later, the security uncle turned over and vented on Vivian's body repeatedly. At 5 a.m. on September 27th, a scream pierced the sky. When Owen opened his eyes, he saw that he was hanging in the air. When he looked down, he found that more than 20 zombies were densely gathered at his feet, stretching their hands towards him and making jia sounds. One of the zombies even climbed onto the pile of zombies, and its outstretched hand touched Owen's shoes. This terrifying scene made Owen pee his pants in fear, and he could only shout for help desperately. The hotel guests opened the windows one after another, watching people turn into unconscious zombies. Most of them were so scared that they couldn't move. After a while, someone finally remembered to save Owen. In the end, the security uncle who lived in Owen's room pulled him up. With the arrival of the day, more people who didn't know what was going on, kind-hearted people, and people who went out. There were more and more zombies on the road, the villa area, because Trevor had controlled all the entrances and exits in advance, temporarily became the safest place at the moment. 5 days after the zombies spread, the food in the hotel was almost gone. At this moment, most people remembered Vivian's family, who had checked into the hotel with a large amount of food. The hotel sent someone to ask Vivian's father to share the food. Without saying a word, Vivian's father closed the door and, together with his son, piled all the sofas behind the door to prevent them from directly swiping the card to enter the room. However, in less than an hour, all the food was robbed. The supplies that Vivian stockpiled had never belonged to her from the beginning. 10 days after the zombies spread, people with little stockpiled food began to take the risk of going out to find food. Vivian exchanged her body for food, and Owen had to go out with his injured leg. Owen ran behind the others. Whenever he couldn't run anymore, a drone would fly above his head and play the song Good Luck. After everyone found that the drone chased above Owen's head twice in a row, no one wanted to team up with Owen anymore. 15 days after the zombies spread, Vivian couldn't exchange her body for food anymore, and Owen didn't dare to go out to find food alone. The 2 of them had been hungry for several days, and Vivian's father and Theodore were in no better condition. If this went on, they were likely to be starved to death. After discussing it, these people found several of the most powerful guys in the hotel. Why should we be scared and have no food, while those people in the villa area are living well? They have stockpiled some food in each house. I know one of them. There is a lot of food in their house. I can lead the way. Looking at Vivian's father, who was spitting in Vivian and Theodore with angry faces in the surveillance footage, I just found it funny. After I told Trevor about their plan, Trevor immediately organized a group of residents in the villa area to guard the gate. At noon that day, a group of people in the hotel got together and prepared to break through the gate of the villa area. Unfortunately, No one was willing to be the decoy to lure the zombies away. They could only throw the phone that played the music a little farther away to briefly lure the zombies away. When this group of people rushed towards the gate of the villa area, Trevor just took out his gun. Unexpectedly, the gate of the villa area opened automatically. Trevor rushed to the security room, pushed away the person who controlled the gate switch button, and closed the gate again. We're all compatriots. We should save one if we can, Trevor sneered and quickly left the security room, asking all the residents at the gate to go home immediately. Before they walked far, some people in the hotel rushed into the villa area while the gate was open. Vivian and Owen were slower than the others because of their injuries. The zombies were only 2 steps away from them, and the gate was about to close. Just when they were desperate, the gate opened slowly again. But the zombie's hands had touched Owen's back. Owen broke out in a cold sweat instantly. While speeding up, he pushed Vivian towards the zombie horde behind him. Vivian's body was grabbed by countless hands and bitten by blood-red teeth. Vivian stared at Owen with red eyes until she was submerged by the zombie horde. However, soon, Vivian rushed out of the zombie horde and rushed into the villa area before the gate was closed again. The people who had just rushed into the villa area and thought they were safe and sat on the ground to rest one by one turned into zombies. The person who opened the gate in the security room was no exception. When he was being bitten by the zombies and was desperate, he opened the gate of the villa area again out of resentment. The false kind-hearted people showed their true demonic nature when their interests were touched. 10. Hi. Vivian, who was about to pounce on Owen, immediately gave up on Owen and chased after me when she heard my voice. I quickly went back inside the wall and closed the gate. Vivian banged her head against the gate. I opened the video intercom doorbell and said, "Vivian, you still have your consciousness, right? On the national road before. I guess that turning into a zombie didn't mean real death. Everyone was just controlled by the virus. As long as there is a vaccine, all the zombies can turn back into normal people. I just tested it with you. I didn't expect you to hate me so much that you gave up Owen, who was about to be yours, and came after me, verifying my guess. You should be happy to get this news. But think about why the zombies' abilities degenerated over time until they completely fell in the previous life. Zombified people are still human after all. Without eating or drinking, their physical functions degenerate, and they will also die. I'm waiting to witness that day for you." The violent and rapid sound of banging on the door sounded again. In extreme anger, the zombies seemed to gain temporary control of their bodies from the virus. Wesley was like that, and so was Vivian. This is why the zombies weren't shot on the national road. I went back to the second floor, took out the bow and arrow, aimed at Owen who was knocking on the door for help everywhere, and shot an arrow through his leg. Owen screamed and fell down. His scream attracted Vivian. Owen crawled backward with his injured leg. The flowing blood stimulated Vivian to move faster and faster until she pounced on Owen and bit his throat precisely. 1 month after the zombies spread, the residents in the community who had stockpiled food basically ran out of supplies. Trevor threw a paper ball wrapped with hard candy to me from the balcony on the second floor. It said, "The food is gone, and human nature is exterminating. Do you want to team up? Teamwork is better than fighting alone. Can my grandpa and I move here with our own food? Your house has better protection measures than mine." I looked directly at Trevor. "I promised you that you could make a request. I have no problem with it, but I need to discuss it with my mom." "Okay." Waiting for your reply, I discussed it with my mom. We were old neighbors, and my mom was willing to let them move in, but she was worried that my space would be exposed. "We'll move to the 3rd floor and let Trevor and his grandpa live on the 2nd floor. We'll clearly define the living areas and not interfere with each other. Just in case, I'll put 1/3 of the supplies in the bedroom and the kitchen." My mom thought it was feasible. After using the drone to attract away the zombies wandering in front of the villa, Trevor sent his grandpa over and settled him down. Then he moved a lot of daily necessities and food here one after another. I knew Trevor had stockpiled a lot of food, but they must be short of vegetables and fruits, so my mom and I dried some vegetables and made them into cooked food, and occasionally sent them to Trevor and his grandpa. 2 days after Trevor moved in, his worry came true. As the food became less and less, many people were fooled by Vivian's father and Theodore and believed that our family had a large amount of food. At night, someone climbed over the wall and was shocked by the electricity and made a trembling sound. Someone pried the lock, but it triggered the electronic alarm and attracted a large number of zombies. We didn't have to do anything, and several people died from exhaustion. Therefore, they were more convinced that we had a large amount of food in our hands. More and more people joined them, reaching up to more than 50 people. If it didn't work once, they would try a second or third time. They even found a large iron door from somewhere and blocked the road, blocking all the ordinary zombies. Just to deal with us. Bang, bang, bang. When the gate was almost broken open, Trevor used a pistol. The deafening gunshots made more and more zombies gather around. Just as Vivian's father and Theodore were going to retreat temporarily with this group of people, a zombie with its upper body bare and all blue jumped down and plunged into the crowd to bite. We could even hear the sound of flesh being bitten. And the howls of pain were endless. The mother virus. Trevor's face turned a little pale, but his tone was firm. We must kill it. I quickly shot at the mother virus with a crossbow. Trevor also fired quickly. With a loud bang, the window glass on the second floor shattered. The mother virus jumped and pounced on Trevor like lightning. Without time to think, I threw the Hummer in the space and directly smashed it towards the mother virus. With a bang, the mother virus and the car fell into the yard together. The mother virus rolled on the ground twice and then bounced up again. This time, it pounced on me. I threw out a motorcycle from the space again, but the mother virus quickly. I was knocked to the ground. Before I fainted, I vaguely saw the bloody teeth of the mother virus. 3 months after the zombies spread, when I woke up again, 2 months had passed. Trevor said that he had dealt with the mother virus. As for me, I was very lucky. The mother virus didn't bite through my skin. My fainting should be related to a concussion. My mom and grandpa were still alive, and the supplies I had left and the supplies he had stored were still enough, but the others in the community were in a much worse situation. Their supplies were all used up, and they started killing each other. They had even resorted to cannibalism. Vivian's father and Theodore had been. I lowered my eyes and didn't say anything. Everyone had paid the due price for the evil they had done. He didn't ask about the space, and I didn't explain further. The glass on the second floor had been broken, and I asked Trevor and Grandpa to move to the third floor and live with us. It seemed that there were only the 4 of us normal humans left in this place, and it seemed meaningless to be more on guard. A space like a chinquin bag. Occasionally, Trevor and I would go out to collect some supplies, and we also wanted to see if a safe base would be established. 1 year after the zombies spread, the safe base in Leeching was established. I donated the seeds I had collected before the end of the world and got the opportunity to move in. I was also allocated a nice 2-story small building. Our 2 families supported each other this year, and we got along very well, so we planned to live together in the future. Trevor became a doctor in the base, and I became the captain of the guard team with my martial arts skills. 3 years after the zombies spread, since the virus vaccine hadn't been developed yet, and the number of zombies was still increasing while some were dying, the leadership finally decided to clear all the zombies. No one knew that their relatives and friends were still alive after being bitten, and no one knew that their relatives and friends would die with their consciousness clear. The end of the world was finally coming to an end. The boss survived, and the level failed. The mechanical electronic voice sounded. I slowly opened my eyes. The orange streetlights flickered on and off. I turned my head and saw a man in a white shirt in the driver's seat. His temperament was unforgettable. I quickly took out a fruit knife from the space and pounced on the driver's seat, stabbing it fiercely into his heart. Bang! In the sudden constriction of his pupils, the car crashed into the roadside guardrail. I didn't dare to let go of the knife, for fear of being counter-killed accidentally. Why don't you play with me some more? It's only been 7 times, Trevor, you lunatic. Trevor smiled. Your performance every time is a surprise. You're really like a treasure that can't be dug out completely. A fire burned in my eyes. Is it fun to watch others struggle to survive? You, the maker of the virus. Before he could answer, I pulled out the fruit knife and stabbed it into his heart again. Trevor let out a muffled groan and finally stopped breathing completely. Trevor was never a doctor. He was a virology researcher, the maker of the mother virus who held the virus vaccine, and I had entered a virus kingdom game. The first life was set by the plot, and every life after that was my revenge after my self-awareness awakened. After Trevor discovered that I was a time traveler with a space, he had been observing and teasing me from the side. As long as he didn't die, I would be trapped in the cycle forever. The boss is dead, and the level is successfully cleared. The mechanical electronic voice sounded again. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the familiar bedroom of the apartment. Story 2. As the apocalypse approached, my best friend and I decided to stick together for survival. While going out to meet up with my best friend's sister, she cunningly pushed me towards a horde of zombies. Little did she know, I've been a millennium-old zombie myself. Why would I fear these little pests? 1. I am a 1,000-year-old zombie. By a twist of fate, I gained consciousness and my cultivation progressed by leaps and bounds. Throughout my long undead life, I chose to blend into the human world and enjoy an ordinary human life. One day at work, I suddenly sensed an unfamiliar yet familiar scent in the air, but I couldn't quite place it. It wasn't until I got home and saw news about biting incidents in various places on a video app that a ridiculous idea popped into my head. Zombies, my love, stock up on food and find a safe place to hide. I won't be coming home for now. This sudden call from my husband, a scientist at a biological research institute, came out of nowhere. Before I could respond, he hung up. When I tried calling back, no one answered. My heart tightened. Could a zombie outbreak really be happening? Emma, where are you? While I was lost in my thoughts, my friend Cindy called. I'm at home. Her tone was grave, making me sit up straight. My husband's hospital recently admitted a few unusual patients. They might be Zombies, he told me to stock up on food and hide. Cindy, your place isn't safe either. Come to my lair. It said that humans can be selfish, but she still thought of me during such times. I knew then that she was a friend worth protecting, so. We both frantically shopped and later met at the entrance to a secluded village in the suburbs. The village, with its long history, was only accessible on foot. Resigned, Cindy and I had to carry our supplies in. No official announcements had been made yet. The village was peaceful, and many villagers helped us move our things. Even so, it took us until sunset to finally get everything inside. Aren't you going to warn them? I asked, watching the villagers' retreating figures. They each have their own land and are self-sufficient, I replied, shaking my head. Saying too much might only scare them unnecessarily. Besides, the military has already gotten involved and hospitals have identified the issue. Perhaps this crisis can be nipped in the bud, too. In the following days, I still couldn't reach my husband by phone. I could only send him our location, unsure if he would be able to find it. After all, this place used to be my tomb, to prevent looting. The village above was arranged according to a specific formation, and modern people have little understanding of such ancient tactics, making it nearly impossible for anyone to find. We were staying in a house at the very center of the village, with 3 floors above ground and a connection to a large tomb below. Emma, Cindy started to say something but hesitated. Did Dr. Tom come? No, he won't be coming. I could see the disappointment in Cindy's eyes. Both our husbands were the same. When faced with greater duties, they inevitably had to abandon their immediate family. He'll be safe, I reassured her, hugging her. Suddenly realizing that she had foster parents and in-laws, I smacked my forehead. I didn't have any family myself, so I hadn't thought of that. Let's bring your parents and in-laws here while the outbreak hasn't fully erupted. We have plenty of rooms sitting empty anyway. When she heard these words, her eyes lit up. In the afternoon, her in-laws arrived. They brought a large supply of materials. They even brought a home generator, but there was no sign of her parents. My sister said that the higher floors of our building are safer, she said with an awkward laugh. I offered her some comforting words. Life in the village was quite pleasant. We would stroll around the village leisurely, enjoying moments of tranquility, until the morning of the 7th day. The scent of zombies in the air had become too strong to ignore. After getting ready, I rang the bell in the ancestral hall, which had been silent for nearly 100 years. The sound of the bell echoed throughout the village. Villagers quickly gathered at the ancestral hall. Folks, a zombie outbreak is imminent. From today, no one is allowed to leave the village. Anyone who disobeys will never be allowed to set foot in the village again. Those from our village who are outside, hurry and tell them to come back. After sunset, I will activate the protective charm of the village. Many young people in the crowd were confused. Before they could ask, they were dragged home by the elders. During previous conflicts, I had saved the entire village. Thus, among the older generation, there were legends about me. Are you the village chief? No, I am the saintess. Cindy, what is this protective charm? It's a magical formation that makes the village invisible. Cindy, in the days that followed, the outside world was in chaos. Social media was flooded with videos of zombies. The village became the only haven in the world, but the peace did not last. One day, villagers suddenly brought a young boy who had been bitten by a dog to me. As I approached the boy, I sensed a strong familiar presence. Was this a zombie virus infection? But where did the virus come from? Quick, bring me some glutinous rice. Take a few men and kill the dog that bit him. Be careful not to get bitten. Go and gather everyone in the village at the ancestral hall. I managed the situation calmly. Soon, Cindy brought a bowl of glutinous rice. The zombie virus was not the same as traditional zombies. The glutinous rice was just a diversion. I placed the glutinous rice on the boy's wound. Secretly, I used my demonic power to draw the poison from his blood. The glutinous rice quickly soaked up the fresh blood. The child is safe now. Go home and take good care of him, I reassured the anxious mother. Thank you, thank you. She knelt down and bowed deeply to me. Go on home, I said, getting up. But feeling a wave of dizziness, being human for too long had made my magical skills rusty. I muttered to myself, pointing casually at the blood-soaked rice. The rice spontaneously combusted. Well, it probably self-combusted. Remember, believe in science, I said seriously, spouting nonsense as I turned to head to the ancestral hall, leaving Cindy utterly stunned. In the ancestral hall, none of the villagers admitted to having contact with outsiders. The source of the zombie virus remained a mystery. Reluctantly, I advised everyone to stay indoors as much as possible and to come to me with any issues. Just then, my phone rang. It was my husband. Honey, zombies have been spotted near your village. Please be careful. Team leader, is your wife nearby? Let's go to your place and hide. The woman pleaded over the phone. Her husband quickly hung up the phone. Clearly, he was reluctant to risk sheltering us. Emma, I My parents were outside the village. They encountered zombies. After hesitating a few times, Cindy still shared the situation. It turned out that their home had been attacked by zombies. The family thought about coming here to take refuge. Unexpectedly, they encountered zombies again on the road. Moreover, they couldn't find the way into the village. Fortunately, they were eventually rescued by researchers who were passing by collecting samples. Give me your sister's number. I'll go pick her up. If I'm not mistaken, the researchers they encountered were probably my husband and his colleagues. Cindy hesitated. I will save them without compromising my own safety. I knew the turmoil she was feeling inside. With the familiarity of my husband's scent, I easily found them. At that moment, they were surrounded by 7 or 8 zombies. Even so, they were protecting Cindy's parents and sister behind them. And Cindy's sister Faye was tightly clutching the edge of my husband's shirt. Her eyes filled with admiration and affection. I'll lead them away. You take them and run, leader. I've been bitten already. I'll lead them away. You guys run. Several of the wounded brothers protested. You're already injured. You can't delay them for long, leader. I'm not injured. I have a younger brother at home. Let me do it. I'm the leader. Listen to me. Get ready and run when the time is right. My husband's face was stern as he shouted and then seized the opportunity to charge towards the horde of zombies, attracting their attention as he ran. Watching this scene, I swallowed my tears, softly cursing under my breath. You heartless man, don't you think of me waiting for you at home? Everyone, don't run around, follow me, it's safe with me. Many of the brothers in the crowd knew me, sister-in-law, the leader. Suddenly Faye looked up, her eyes somewhat hostile. It's okay, let's go first. As long as I have a breath left, I can bring him back. How can you be so heartless? He's your husband. Faye seemed to lose her mind, loudly chastising me despite the apocalypse's taboos. Everyone urged her to keep quiet, but she wouldn't listen. Before long, the zombies that my husband had lured away were attracted back by the noise. Run, someone yelled, and everyone started to run frantically, but she grabbed me and threw me backward with force. I hadn't expected her to do that. Caught off guard, I was thrown to the ground. The zombies immediately surrounded me. Sister-in-law, your task is to keep us safe. Take the chance while she's holding off the zombies. Let's go. This woman. I had no quarrels with her, but not only did she endanger me, she also prevented the brothers from rescuing me, but at that moment, I had no time to play with her. There was still a chance to save those injured brothers. I had to rescue them first. Scram! My shout mixed with mystical power made the zombies scream and scatter in terror. Everyone was stunned, including my husband who had just rushed over. Well, I wear ancestral beads that ward off zombies. Guess they work somewhat similarly with zombies. I casually told a lie. My husband held me tightly in his embrace. All right, our brothers are still wounded. We need to take care of them quickly, otherwise they might turn into zombies. Do you have a way? Seeing a glimmer of hope, my husband gripped my hand, slightly trembling. After all, we had all faced life and death together recently. Yes, my family has a traditional remedy for extracting zombie poison. Hearing this, hope was restored in the eyes of the injured brothers. Sister, are you all right? You were so careless just now. I was almost scared to death. Faye suddenly ran over, not minding how the others looked. She hugged me as if we were long-lost sisters. Since she wasn't embarrassed, the awkwardness was left to everyone else. I subtly pushed her away. Sister, that bead of yours that can deal with zombies is so magical. Can I see it? Faye came closer, holding my hand affectionately. No, you can't. I didn't hide my disdain for her. I had saved her only because of Cindy. Why are you being so stingy? She then turned her gaze to my husband, half joking. Bro, team leader, did you know your sister-in-law is so stingy? Under my husband's sharp gaze, she awkwardly changed her address. My husband ignored her, continuously stroking the palm of my hand. His innocent look seemed to say, I'm not that close to her. I couldn't help but give a wry smile. While speaking, I led them to the entrance of the village. To the ordinary eye, it appeared as a wasteland. The fog was thick, visibility was very low. Sister, are you just messing with us? I didn't explain. It was simply because the village's protective array had a concealment feature. With a wave of my hand, the fog dispersed, revealing a narrow path leading into the village. Everyone wore a look of surprise on their faces. I didn't want to explain and walked into the village first. The younger brothers from the station closely followed behind. My husband covered our rear. Leader, do you really understand your sister-in-law? In this world, supernatural and filthy things still exist. Although Faye whispered, my hearing was not ordinary, and I heard every word clearly. Maybe you shouldn't come in. My husband replied coolly, Emma, you're back just in time. There are a few more people bitten in the village. The village chief saw me come in and, without minding the strangers, immediately pulled me towards the temple. Chief, let me introduce you. This is my man. I pulled my husband over and introduced him. The young man is quite handsome, the village chief said perfunctorily. At that moment, his mind was only on the villagers. I didn't mind and continued. These are his colleagues, who are also injured now. Could you prepare some more glutinous rice so I can detoxify them all? Hearing this, the village chief subtly moved closer to my side. Sure, I'll get right on it. Mom, Dad, Faye. People in the village had been bitten and injured, and Cindy, coming from a family of medical professionals, rushed to the temple to help. Seeing us enter, she cheerfully called out, "Cindy, are you all right?" Cindy's parents approached and looked her over, relieved only when they saw she was unharmed. Once a daughter is married, she's like water spilled out of the house. If it weren't for our good fortune, we might never have seen you again. Faye glanced meaningfully at Cindy's in-laws who had just entered the ancestral hall as she spoke. Seeing both sets of parents dressed neatly, with healthy, rosy complexions, and then looking at her own sorry state, Cindy's parents' joy visibly faded. I couldn't help but glance at Faye. What a troublemaker. That's quite an accusation. After all, it was you who didn't want to move in with us. Faye cares about family ties, and I was already fed up with her, so I retorted on her behalf. Besides, if Cindy hadn't pleaded with me, I wouldn't have come to rescue you. Hearing this, Faye grasped the essence of it. She looked pitifully at her husband, sister-in-law. That's not fair. We risked our lives to save you, and besides, she paused, making sure her husband was listening, before continuing, you are the leader's wife, the team almost. How could you just stay nearby and not come to rescue them? You really don't love your husband at all. Her words were filled with righteous indignation, causing the surrounding villagers to look at us with inquisitive eyes. Emma, are you worried about the judgment of society, so you're afraid to divorce? Don't be afraid. All the people in our village support any decision you make. Hearing this, my heart warmed. See, these are the villagers who have protected me for 1,000 years, and I have protected for 1,000 years. Everyone is mistaken. Our marriage is strong. It's just that it was too dangerous outside, which is why I didn't let Emma come out. Seeing the villagers' gazes losing their kindness, my husband quickly explained. He also shot a glare at Faye, who was trying to stir up trouble between us. Seeing the villagers' skeptical expressions, he looked at me pleadingly. Who would have thought? The usually decisive man. Now, he was looking at me with innocent eyes. Don't misunderstand, everyone, in these troubled times, as a researcher, he naturally has to contribute to the country. And I also need to protect our villagers, so that's why we were temporarily apart. Hearing this, there was a hint of guilt in the villagers' eyes. I knew they felt they had held us back, and they would probably add extra chicken legs to my meal tonight. With the previous experience, this time the extraction of the corpse poison went smoothly. It was just unusually tiring, which wasn't normal, but given the special circumstances, I didn't dwell on it. After all, monsters aren't so easy to kill. Are you okay? Seeing my pale face, my husband's eyes were full of concern. I'm fine. Just need to rest a bit. I waved it off. That day, unusually, my husband stayed over, under the guise of letting the injured brothers rest well for a night. I knew he was just worried about me. The next morning, I woke up to find the bed empty. There was an unread message from my husband on WeChat. Baby, I've left first. You take good care of yourself and rest well. Seemingly accustomed to this way of interaction, I silently put away my phone. What mattered most now was protecting every villager. Emma, have you seen the news? Cindy asked as she handed me her phone. The news was on. Recent studies have found that the zombie virus was caused by human activity and initially spread through birds. Our country has actively participated in the development of related vaccines. We urge everyone to take precautions and stay indoors as much as possible. After watching the news broadcast, the situation with the zombie virus in our village finally made sense. I had no choice but to consider relocating, but the world at this moment was nothing short of hell. After hesitating, I opened the tomb door. In my previous life, I was a princess during the Xia dynasty, a time of unprecedented openness and gender equality. As the queen's most accomplished daughter, I excelled in both arts and military, and was the default heir according to the officials. That was until one day, the queen brought back a young and handsome man. It didn't take long before he became the prince consort. Although the royal harem was not supposed to engage in politics, the Xia dynasty valued talent over status. Soon, he firmly established himself in the court. His political acumen surpassed even mine. I even considered abdicating the throne in his favor. My tutor said I was too kind-hearted, a blessing for the people but a concern for the ministers. After discussing this matter with the queen several times, we decided to test him for a few more years. Unfortunately, as a hunter, the prince consort was unqualified. On the day the queen was about to issue the decree passing the throne to the prince consort, he staged a coup with his old flame. I led 3,000 Imperial Guards, for the first time pointing my spear at my own soldiers. After a night of bloody battle, reinforcements from the capital's army arrived. My life ended in the darkness before dawn. After the civil unrest was quelled, the queen gave me a funeral fit for an emperor. Little did I expect that I would be the one to open my own mausoleum. I only heard a gasp behind me. I couldn't help it. Even after 1,000 years, I still found my mausoleum extremely luxurious. Terracotta soldiers lined both sides of the corridor, their postures varied and lifelike. The everlasting lamps I held illuminated their faces, which seemed almost cozy. The floor was paved with white jade, and the dome was inlaid with night pearls. Further ahead was the main burial chamber, with my sarcophagus in the center. The crystal coffin was filled with rare treasures. The side chambers also displayed many burial items given by the queen, some of which were damaged over the centuries. I skillfully removed the treasures from the sarcophagus, along with a brocade quilt hand-sewn by the queen from the bottom of the coffin, turning the engraved dragon's eyeball on the crystal sarcophagus. The bottom thunderously slid open, revealing a deep passage. It was a miniature realm prepared by the queen for me. Mountains of gold and rivers of silver formed the stars and the moon. There were also houses, just right for villagers to live in. A small fountain here was the crucial point of the village's protective formation. Now it could be used to solve the drinking water issue for the villagers. I placed a magical pearl over the fountain to purify the water source. Emma, how did you know there was a tomb here? Cindy asked in shock. The villagers here were originally tomb keepers, and I am one of them, I replied. Of course. I didn't mention that I was the one supposed to be guarded in this tomb. This should belong to the state. How can you just claim it for yourselves? Faye said righteously. Now that her crisis was over, she was snacking and sitting comfortably. Why don't you go outside now and contact the national authorities for me? I said without even bothering to lift my eyelids. How can you be so heartless, with zombies everywhere outside, and you still ask me to go out? Faye stomped her foot in anger. I responded with a cold laugh. Cindy and I sat together, chatting idly on and off. The village chief came to me again. Emma, several villagers suddenly developed fevers today. We don't have any spare medicine here. What do you think? I didn't take it seriously, as staying underground for long periods could affect one's physical functions, and falling ill was not unusual. I stood up and followed the village chief to the homes of the sick villagers. I frowned. This was the smell of zombies. Prepare the glutinous rice, perhaps because my tone was so grave. The village chief did not dare delay. Thankfully, it was only 3 villagers. After extracting the poison from them, I collapsed to the ground. I felt even weaker during this period. Just then, a few more villagers followed my trail and found me. Emma, your Aunt Lisa has a high fever that won't subside. Emma, your Uncle Ben just suddenly collapsed. Emma, I was stunned. Could it all be the zombie virus? Call everyone here. I struggled to rise from the ground and found a comfortable chair to sit on. Soon, everyone had gathered. Village chief, could you ask what these people did or ate before they got sick? I commanded weakly. There were 6 patients, and with my current physical state, performing more magic might reveal my true form. After making inquiries, nothing unusual was reported. Aunt Lisa was drinking water before she collapsed. That statement stirred up a commotion, as the relatives of the other patients mentioned that their sick loved ones had also drunk water before falling ill. I frowned. This didn't make sense. The spring water contained my magical bead, so it shouldn't harbor any viruses. Have you found any other sources of water? No, everyone drinks from the spring. Was there anything different about the spring water today? I didn't want to move at all now. It seemed the same as always. Watching everyone try hard to recall, I frowned even more deeply. Could it be that the zombie virus from outside had mutated to a point beyond the control of my magical bead? Does it count that we didn't see the bead that Sister Emma placed in the spring water today? A young boy in the crowd spoke up. My expression changed. Could it have sunk to the bottom? Faye, who usually didn't interact much with the villagers, suddenly spoke up. That's impossible. I frowned even deeper. A magical bead isn't something that could just sink to the bottom. Forcing myself, I rushed to the edge of the spring, and sure enough, the bead was missing. Who took it? Give it back, or don't blame me for being rude. My voice suddenly turned cold. I had told the villagers before that this bead had the power to purify water. It ensured that our water source remained uncontaminated by the zombie virus, so the person who stole the bead was deserving of punishment. You're wasting your time looking for that worthless bead instead of saving those infected with the zombie virus. Who knows when they'll turn into zombies, and the whole village will suffer. Faye rolled her eyes, diverting the topic. She had a point. The villagers looked at me expectantly. Faye, did you take the bead? I suppressed the urge to hit her, squeezing the words through clenched teeth. It wasn't that I was targeting her, but her behavior was too suspicious. How can you accuse people like that? Faye raised her voice, trying to cover her guilt. Faye, did you take the bead? Cindy seemed to notice her odd behavior too and asked with a frown, I'm your sister, and you don't believe me. Just like that, she's your own sister, and you side with outsiders. Can you just throw such accusations around? How will your sister ever get married in the future? Cindy's parents quickly stepped forward to support their younger daughter. The noisy chatter around me only added to my frustration and confusion. I don't know what's been going on lately. Not only am I feeling weak, but my temper has become uncontrollably irritable. Will no one confess? If I have to find out myself, the culprit will have to leave. My shout, laced with magical power, silenced everyone. I'm asking one last time, will anyone confess? Seeing no one step forward, I had no choice but to use my own magical power to sense it, as expected. The magical orb was on Faye. I stared at her intensely and began to approach her step by step. At first, she pretended to be calm, but perhaps my gaze was too intimidating, and she couldn't help but step back. Eventually, tripping over something, she screamed and fell to the ground. A green bead, the size of a baby's fist, rolled up beside her. It was my magical orb. Faye, you've disappointed me greatly. Emma, I'm sorry. If you decide to send her away, I won't blame you. But can you at least let my parents stay? Hearing her plea, much of the resentment in my heart dissipated. But before I could speak, Faye's parents began to protest. We have failed in our duties as parents and have no face to stay here. Yes, Cindy, take care of yourself. We have wronged the villagers. The two of them echoed each other's sentiments but showed no signs of leaving. I scoffed coldly. What a strategy to retreat in order to advance. Seeing that the kind-hearted villagers were about to speak up for them, I stepped in first. If that's the case, you all should leave together. 12. They clearly didn't expect me to play my cards so unexpectedly. After a few seconds of stunned silence, they turned to Cindy as if seeking rescue. Cindy was not foolish, especially when it came to her own parents, understanding well what game they were playing. Mom, Dad, I'll help you pack your things, Cindy said. Leaving the scene, was she worried about making things difficult for me? You ungrateful wretch, after we took you in and raised you for so many years. Cindy's father was furious. Cindy paused in her steps but ultimately did not turn back. You're driving us to our deaths. Cindy's mother, realizing she couldn't rely on Cindy, sat down on the ground, wailing without shedding tears. Yes, you're being too inhumane. Faye is just a child. She doesn't understand. You and Cindy are good friends. Why not just give the bead to Faye? It's just a bead. I never thought these elders could be so shameless. How can you say that? This bead is the hope of the entire village. Without it, everyone will die. The village chief, infuriated, banged his cane. You old fool, aren't you still living well? Exactly, even without the bead, she can heal people. What's there to fear? They argued as if they were completely justified, showing no sign of guilt. Have someone drag them out. I rubbed my forehead. A few young, strong men stepped forward to drag them away, but then something unexpected happened. 3 villagers, who hadn't been rescued in time, staggered out. I was shocked. They were close to death, and once their bodies began to decompose, there would truly be no saving them. Quick, knock them all out, I directed, swallowing the magical orb, and my magical power was significantly restored. In the ensuing chaos, 3 people were successfully rescued, however. The scene was too chaotic, and no one noticed Faye secretly recording the entire process. Let's drive them out. I waved my hand and collapsed onto the ground. When I opened my eyes again, I found villagers kneeling all around me. I was slightly startled. What's going on? Emma is awake. Little rascal. Call her the great ancestor. A young villager had just finished speaking when he received a scolding from an elder. So, the great ancestor has been protecting us all these years under different identities. I was even more confused and looked towards Cindy, but her eyes were filled with fervor. Emma, you're actually not human. That sounded so uncomfortable. I touched my face, and the 2 sharp fangs at the corners of my mouth gave me a start. Had my true form been revealed? I had revealed my true form, just as I had during the war years ago. And the older villagers remembered me, influenced by the older villagers. Everyone was unafraid of me. Aren't you scared? I voiced my inner doubt. Why should we be scared? You're still you, just more beautiful. Cindy is focused on looks. I had retained my radiant appearance, just with an addition of 2 fangs. Great ancestor, someone has posted a video of you saving people online. I was startled. Did that include the part where I revealed my true form? Great ancestor, someone is coming. A patrolling villager hurried over. I sighed, with a wave of my sleeve. I returned to my original appearance. Call me as you did before. Angrily, I got out of bed and prepared to check the situation outside. The house was filled with people. There were researchers, armed personnel, and a young man dressed as a Taoist. I roughly understood how these people had gotten in. In the crowd, I saw familiar faces. My husband and dear, Tom. Seeing them safe, I felt much relieved. There she is. She's not human. She has a pearl that can cure the zombie virus, even if infected. She has a way to heal. I looked amusedly at this ridiculous figure before me, raising an eyebrow. After being driven out, Faye still wanted to cause trouble, and then, you should hand it over to the state, she said confidently. The elder leading the group heard our conversation and frowned in disapproval. He approached with a smile and said, Miss, I am in charge of the zombie virus vaccine. If you truly have a way, could you possibly share it? Name your conditions. I glanced at my husband, who gave me a subtle smile, showing no sign of concern. I can't help, I shrugged. The elder was taken aback, not expecting such a direct response. Though you are not one of us, I believe you are a good person. You wouldn't have saved people otherwise. Hearing his words, I carefully felt his heartbeat as he spoke. I realized he wasn't lying or intending to use force. I felt somewhat relieved about his uninvited approach. I really can't help. I risk my own life to save others, but I'm too weak now to save everyone. I spoke earnestly. The elder fell into deep thought. Could we perhaps study the villagers who have recovered? Do you have the water purified with beads? I nodded and stepped aside. My husband is patriotic, and I want to contribute to the country he is committed to protect. Especially during its crisis, the atmosphere subsequently became much more relaxed. Both the scientific researchers and the armed personnel followed the rules strictly, not disturbing the villagers. She's not human. Why are you still clinging to her? That day, I prepared some food and went to see my husband. Just then, I overheard Faye's words. I paused, reluctant to face the truth. But I couldn't help wanting to know my husband's thoughts. However, my husband turned and walked away, refusing to speak a word to her. I like you so much. Why won't you consider me? I'm prettier, younger, and come from a better family background. Plus, I'm actually alive. Are you afraid that if you leave her, she might hurt you? Seeing that my husband didn't turn around, Faye stepped forward and grabbed his hand, only to be reflexively shaken off. I knew from the start that she wasn't human. I was stunned. When was I discovered? I thought I had disguised myself well. But I quickly caught on to another point. Despite knowing my true identity, he still treated me so kindly. Suddenly, I felt incredibly fortunate. But she doesn't love you. Back in the forest, she didn't care whether you lived or died. If it weren't for me luring the zombies there, you might have already been dead. Hearing this, a flash of hatred crossed my husband's eyes. If Emma were a normal person, you would have killed her by now. Seeing his clenched fists and the veins bulging on his forehead, I knew he was angry. Hey, jerk, are you hungry? I suddenly appeared with a food box, breaking the tension. Quite hungry, he looked me up and down, making me blush. Eat this. I shoved the food box into his hands and turned to leave, but he pulled me back into his embrace. Can you stay with me till old age? I was taken aback, remembering I had once said I was using my life to save others, and he must have taken it seriously. I've been dead a long time. This is my grave. My husband stiffened. Just when I thought he was scared, he spoke. You really are rich. Suddenly I feel I'm not worthy of you. Me. Shall we meet at the civil affairs office? You are only a widower, not divorced. We laughed and joked for a while. Then he looked at me seriously. Don't do this kind of thing anymore. I paused, then realized what he meant. Can you give up the country you love? He looked at me puzzled. They are all descendants of my subjects, scientific research continued, and Cindy and I came up with different dishes for them every day. The people visibly grew healthier. 6 months later, one night, I suddenly suffered unbearable stomach pain. Cindy heard me and came to check. I no longer had the strength to maintain my transformed appearance and reverted to my original form. The sight of my swollen belly shocked us both. I was pregnant. No wonder I had been tired and irritable whenever I used my powers recently. I had maintained my human form, so no one noticed this problem. Upon hearing the news, my husband took leave to be with me. A zombie giving birth was unheard of, even for me. After a day of agony, just after noon, I gave birth to a daughter. My husband held me and wept with joy. However, the research was still incomplete, and the people continued to suffer. He had to return to develop the vaccine. During the night, all was silent. The careful footsteps at the door thus stood out prominently. With a little thought, I guessed it must be Faye up to her usual tricks, but having just given birth, my magical powers were weakened, and with a baby to protect, confronting her directly was not advantageous. While pondering, I simply reverted to my true form. Letting my hair down, I used my feeble magic to create an aura of eerie gloom. As the door opened, I hovered directly in the air. After a scream, Faye fainted from fright. She was still holding a sharp knife in her hand. I scoffed. Such a frail mental state, and still she dared to harm others. I recounted the incident to Cindy. She and the villagers locked Faye up. They planned to hand her over to the police once order was restored. Unexpectedly, the scare drove Faye insane. Later on, researchers finally developed the vaccine. The country returned to its former prosperity. I did not stop everyone from talking about what had happened here. But since the founding of the nation, becoming a spirit was forbidden. Everyone just treated it as a mere spooky tale. My husband, daughter, and I lived among the people as if we were just ordinary folks.